I pledge my eternal gratitude to any law nerd who would edit and combine original Emily's live coverage of this trial with Sidebars coverage at specific moments. That sounds like a doctoral project. Good morning, everyone. We are together today for Johnny Depp to resume the stand in cross-examination. Here's what I'm looking for today. Did Ben Rottenborn learn anything from last week? Emily, is your screen ready to share? No, it's not. WAP, we are professionals here, people.
Good morning.
They will talk
Everything
about
good
love
now, Judy?
bombing.
We're good? All right, thanks. All right. Do we have any preliminary matters before the jury?
I don't see the judge. Oh, the audio.
Okay.
Oh, long crimes behind. That's why.
Redacted exhibits
Okay.
from last week. We've given them to Ms. Myers this morning, and they've confirmed that they look okay to them. So
Okay. All right.
here are paper copies. The thumb drive contains electronic copies of these, as well as the excerpted audio.
Redacted exhibits.
And
Okay. Well, I kind of need a thumb drive for each audio recording, but
a separate thumb drive for each.
it's marked as different exhibits, so I have to have it as different exhibits.
We
So,
can have that if anybody wants.
okay, good. We'll go through them and see what we have.
That's
And
interesting.
you have yours as well?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may approach.
It's
Okay.
interesting to me that the judge wants a separate thumb drive for each separate exhibit.
Okay.
Photographs that were in this exhibit.
The knives.
I'm kind of enjoying this coat
Okay,
today.
perfect. All right. Great. We'll go through those. If we need anything else, we'll let you know, okay?
A lot of courts-
Excerpted recordings are on a separate audio file on the thumb drive, so if you'd like it separate, I understand you're saying you'd like a separate physical.
Just because, so we can have them numbered that way, correct?
Sure.
All right. I gotta keep Jamie happy. Yes. Okay. All right.
A
Thank
lot
you.
of courts will take one big drive
Okay, sure.
with the exhibits numbered on the drive. It's interesting that she wants separate drives. So they're approaching about something that's redacted that got done this morning.
Sidebar. The court. Yes, sir. Mr. Rottenborn. Good morning. We believe that Mr. Depp's testimony opened the door for the UK judgment. Every day. Try and try again. He testified that, the court, on direct, Mr. Rottenborn, on direct, he testified that 6 years ago that Ms. Heard made these allegations against him, and then he went on to say that he had to wait for his opportunity to address the charges, and he said, quote, "So I felt a responsibility of clearing the record the only way that I could to get to the point where I could speak. It really has taken this whole 6 years," end quote. The court, okay, Mr. Rottenborn. And then later he says, on the next page he says, quote, "This is actually the first opportunity that I've been able to speak about this case in full for the first time," end quote. So he's careful there to say, quote, "this case," end quote. The court, this case, Mr. Rottenborn. So what he's left the jury with is the impression that he talks about these accusations 6 years ago. He's leaving the jury with the impression that he's never had the opportunity to address the truth of those accusations, when the fact is, the jury's left with the impression he's never been able to address them to this point. The court, all right, Mr. Chu, I think he was very careful to avoid that, Your Honor. I think he's grasping at straws. Ms. Myers, I believe this is an issue for damages. The court, I don't think the door's been opened at this point. Mr. Rottenborn, do I have your leave to refer to the article? Ask about that article? The court, which article? Mr. Rottenborn, the article that was the subject of the lawsuit, the op-ed, not the op-ed. Ms. Bredehoft, has nothing to do with this case. The court, I don't know which article you're talking about. Mr. Rottenborn, we'll just take it as it comes, Your Honor. Mr. Chu, the Sun article he's referring to, which has nothing to do with this case. The court, I'm not going to allow that. Mr. Rottenborn, I just want to be very clear. The court, perfect. I appreciate it. Open court.
Just a reminder, Mr. Depp, you're still under oath. Okay, sir?
Yes.
All
Your
right.
Honor.
This is not a criminal case.
All right.
This is money. This is reputation. But at the end of the day,
Morning, everyone. I
No
hope
one's
you had a
going
nice
to
weekend.
jail. Shut up, Rottenborn.
To clarify, spoke with Ms. Myers this morning. We're gonna speak at a break. We're trying to be very careful about whether there's a third party on the tape. This is one where at the very end, someone else comes in. But Ms. Myers and I will speak, and we may be, to the extent your honor's agreeable, we may be agreeable to just entering the whole thing as evidence. But for now, since there's a very small portion at the end that we're not going to play of a third party. I'll just give you the excerpts if that works.
Well, then I need 598B, and I need to
Yes.
know what the time of the excerpts are. And
We'll prepare that for you, Your Honor.
The court's
Thank
like, then
you.
you need to give me the evidence.
well, I need it
please.
now. I mean,
Yes.
I have the,
Yes.
Okay.
the excerpts. So this would be 598B,
Okay.
and it's seconds 1 through 20. And then it's minutes, 30 minutes and 2 seconds through
Yeah.
31 minutes and 45 seconds.
It feels like
Okay.
some of this could have been
All right.
addressed
Any
before
objection
court.
to
Maybe it couldn't have,
598B then?
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you.
but it feels like some of this could have been addressed before court.
This is a text from you to your agent, Christian Carino, on August 15th, 2016, correct?
That's correct. That's what it looks like, yes.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance and prejudice.
Ms. Myers, objection, Your Honor, relevance and prejudice. The court. If you could approach for a moment, could you make it a little bigger for me? That's what she said. Thank you. Sidebar. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, the court, 2016. Ms. Myers, this is again after the separation. They've already put in exhibits that they're using foul language after this point, and this is needlessly cumulative, and it's irrelevant. The court, what's the relevance? Mr. Rottenborn, well, it's just the second to last text. It's not cumulative for a couple reasons, Your Honor. Number one, Your Honor allowed us to put in texts of violence that he wants to have happen to Miss Heard. You already allowed the text of Isaac Baruch, which was after, those were after May 21st, 2016. The court, oh, I understand that, but I don't see Mr. Rottenborn. This is the same thing. This is him saying, the one at the bottom, quote, I hope that karma kicks in and takes the gift of breath from her. She's going to, end quote. Second one up from the bottom here refers to her. And this is a document Your Honors admitted into evidence that his violence toward Amber Heard, toward Alan Barkley on Friday in the deposition designations. And this is him talking, the court. This kind of makes it sound like it's cumulative. Mr. Rottenborn, this is critically important that the jury see. This is what he's saying about Amber, the court. I mean, I can understand some of it, not all of it, obviously. Is not relevant. Mr. Rottenborn, that one, the court, one line, Mr. Rottenborn, when he says, quote, global humiliation, end quote, the court, that's Mr. Rottenborn. He says something like he hopes that, quote, karma gets the best of her, she will hit the wall hard, end quote. I can point to another exhibit right after this, Your Honor, 2014. He uses, quote, hit the wall hard, end quote. He uses that same phrase. That's another reason I want to use the exhibit. The court doesn't say that in this particular text. Oh, here it goes, Mr. Rottenborn. And then the next exhibit that I introduce, one where he says, I think it's 2014, quote, she will hit the wall hard, end quote. This is language of violence. Oh, he's trying to imply that, oh, wow, like literally hit the wall. That's wild. The court, there's a couple, but it's engrossed in a lot of irrelevant information. It doesn't belong in here. So if you want to pick out those two, looks like, quote, I'm so funny, now she wants to act this out, she'll hit the wall, end quote, I'll allow that. And then I think the one that complicates indiscernible, that's about it, Mr. Rottenborn. Okay, well, I'd like to get it in to ask him about those, the court. If you could redact it to just those two, Mr. Rottenborn. Okay, thank you, Your Honor, the court. We need to make progress here soon, Mr. Rottenborn. Okay, open court.
Your Honor, for the sake of time,
Admitting to hitting,
I'll go ahead and
we know that already.
may I ask the witness about the portions that we discussed, and then we
That's
can
fine.
provide a redacted version.
Okay.
Mr. Depp, in this text message from you to Christian Carino, your agent, on August 15th, 2016, you tell him, you go on at some length about Amber, but you say, she will hit the wall hard, 4 exclamation points. And then later down you say, I can only hope that karma kicks in and takes the gift of breath from her. Did I read that right?
Objection, compound.
I'll allow
It's
it.
not compound. Leave that one alone.
You read that correctly. So
Yeah, I'm just like, leave that
And
one
this wasn't
alone.
the first time that you talked about
If they're
Amber
both correct.
hitting the wall hard. Let's pull up Exhibit 213, please.
And in redirect, which is, so
hitting
we've
the
got,
wall hard
he's going to just offer it,
based
what it
on
means.
the
We'll just take a look at the
accusations
next
that
exhibit.
she.
No, he
well,
wants-
I'm sorry, I was talking.
Talking.
Is that all right?
No, it's not.
You had answered my question. We'll take a look at the next
Oh,
exhibit. Thank you.
yeah. As long as you're happy, sir.
Oh, fucking hell.
Mr.
Him.
Depp, this is a text
Then
that you sent to
cross-examination.
Bruce Witkin on
Then his
February
attorneys come
4th,
back up and ask
2014.
questions.
The
Where,
text at the top
where
of
am
the
I
page
looking, sir?
on your screen, please.
I
sorry.
figured that out.
The
Thanks.
top text on the screen.
Okay, I didn't know if there was a specific If it was third from the bottom or
He's not happy with
somewhere
this
around the
attorney,
corner.
and him being difficult is not going to help. It might make
would
the
you like
jury
me to do?
see him
This is the
as
text that you sent to Bruce
difficult.
Whitkin on February 4th, 2014, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Your Honor, I move for admission of this exhibit with just that text displayed.
We'll have a conversation about Amber's text at the break.
With the redactions applied and also the identifiers. That's-
Okay.
Yep.
Redaction
We have that.
identifiers.
We have that ready.
All right, 213 in evidence with redactions.
Move for the admission of this. Permission to publish, Your Honor.
It is in evidence,
Thank
so you can publish it.
I'm not sure what he meant by hit the wall. He was trying to explain, but again, his attorneys have to come up and say,
Mr. Depp, on February 4th, 2014, you tell Mr. Whitkin, Amber and I hit the wall hard. You see that?
I do, sir.
And that's the same phrase that you used in your text to Mr. Carino from 2016 that we just read, correct?
They are similar words, but they have different meanings. If
Can we pull
No,
up?
you're not gonna get to
makes
explain.
sense to you.
nope, you're not going to get to
Exhibit
explain.
498, please. Mr. Depp, is this a text exchange that you had with Ms. Heard on or about October 28th, 2015?
At least we have dates.
Yes, sir.
And I'd like to direct your attention to the third text down.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd
We can
move for the
still hear the
admission of
lawyers.
Defendant's Exhibit 498 with identifiers redacted.
Any objection?
Relevance, Your Honor.
Huh.
All right,
May we approach?
okay, sure.
Sidebar! Miss Myers. Your Honor, the relevance of Mr. Depp using an inappropriate word to describe someone other than Miss Heard, I don't understand the relevance. The court, what's the relevance, Mr. Rottenborn? It's the violence that's been, I want to show that he said this, he's already opened the door, and he said he had such a loving marriage and relationship with Vanessa, so at a minimum, it's impeachment. So this is him trying to like come up with a reason here. This is the type of, they're hoping that he's a classy guy that never erupts. Amber's just brought out the worst in him. This is showing that he had violent thoughts towards others as well. He keeps saying that he testified repeatedly on direct about his peaceful tendencies and how it was only on Amber. This shows that that's, I'm sorry to do it, but there is a lot of horrible incidents of the court. It's cumulative. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, these are words about someone else that's not Miss Heard. I don't understand the relevance. And if anything, they're offering it for improper character. Yup. To suggest that because he uses bad words. The court. I'm going to sustain the objection at this time. Ms. Myers, thank you. The court. All right. Back to open court.
Back and
Mr.
forth
Depp, I'd
between
like
the
to turn
parties.
your attention to the middle text on this page, which is a text from you to someone named Ryan A. On January 12th, 2015. Do you see that?
January. I'm sorry, the second one from the last.
Yes.
January 12th?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is that Ryan Adams, the singer?
Yes.
Who
it is.
cares?
Your Honor, move for admission of Defendant's Exhibit 330. Just plan on asking about that text.
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Ew,
I'm
snark.
happy to approach if you want.
Your Honor, can we approach?
Sidebar. Mr. Rottenborn, it's directly toward a state of mind on how Miss Heard, the court, was it that date specifically? Is there something that happens on that date? That's why we need to know about his state of mind on that date. Mr. Rottenborn, I'm not sure he was married, but he was with Miss Heard that day. It was getting toward the wedding, and this is a man with the court. But we've had so many substance abuse. It's a cumulative nature. Mr. Rottenborn, I know, but that's the court. If there's not a specific date tied to it, Mr. Rottenborn, it goes to his main, he's testified to his main beef with Amber was that she didn't want him to be doing drugs and he hated her for it. The court, I think we get that over the last day. Mr. Rottenborn, I'm going to have to hit a little bit more. I want to, the court. If it's not tied to a specific date, I have to draw the line. We've got too much cumulative things. I've gone through all of the exhibits over the weekend, Mr. Rottenborn, and there's plenty in here about his substance abuse and his texts of substance abuse. Until you tie it down to a date, Mr. Rottenborn, but it's not only substance abuse, but the violence that grows from that. It's so funny seeing the parallels in how he argues some of this stuff and how we see Elaine, especially more later on, same type of methodology, if you want to call it that, strategy, if you want to call it that. The court, this one just says hatred, Mr. Rottenborn. Then the next one, we can discuss the next one. The next one, he said that I'm going to try to get this one from, he texted her sober friend and said, quote, "The head is a C word with a grievous intent. That's why drugs are good," end quote. I mean, this ties into the pain that he's testified that he experienced with the fact that he numbs the pain with drugs. The court. I have a lot of exhibits that say that, Mr. Rottenborn, so it becomes cumulative. I'm going to sustain the objection at this time. If words are tied to a date, it's important to this case. Okay, Mr. Rottenborn, we believe that okay, the court. All right, Ms. Myers. Thank you, Your Honor. Back to open court.
Very odd to me that she objects on relevance and he goes, it's like, just deal with it. This is a trial. This is what you have to deal with. So,
Mr. Depp, I'd like
The judge
to
won't.
turn your attention to
it's not relevant
text
to
number
them.
40.
So
Okay.
that's why this
It's
is
the third
so
one down.
slow.
Yes,
This is a text from you to Malcolm Connolly. Is that right?
that's correct.
Your Honor, I'd move for admission of this document with the third text down.
If I just,
Sure.
I'm happy to approach to discuss if you're.
Oh, he lost the last objection because he didn't get it admitted. He's moving on to another exhibit, which means the last one, he lost the objection.
relevance objection again, Your Honor.
Okay, if you want to approach.
Sidebar. Mr. Rottenborn, I believe that February 10th, you can correct me if you disagree, but I believe February 10th, 2016 is the date of that Sweets or Kitchen video that we saw. The court, right? Ms. Myers, I don't believe that the date was ever established. I believe Mr. Depp asked you about the date of that. Yes, that happened. I remember that. That was from the day before. Mr. Rottenborn, well, you can establish that with Amber. The court, I'll allow it at this time. Again, redacted. Mr. Rottenborn, thank you. Open court.
We're professionals. WAP. We are professionals, people.
Mr. Rottenborn, if that's coming in, we'd allow the contextual text messages as well. If we might take a look, please.
I'm sorry.
You need
We would
context.
like to take a look and
Completeness.
just make sure
No.
the contextual text messages are coming
Objection.
in with the one that you're
Completeness.
directing Mr. Depp to.
You need completeness. Rottenborn. That's a fair question.
I'm just going to address the court. That was the text message that I would like to get in. If they're, I'm not sure what she's asking, Your Honor.
We'll just go forward with that text message for now.
She's asking for completeness, and they're going to have to do it on redirect.
Mr. Depp, you remember last week the jury saw the video of you.
He said, do you remember
as you
if
called it,
last
assaulting
week?
the cupboards in that kitchen on Sweetser Avenue?
Yes, sir, very well said.
And that was on or about February 10th, 2016, correct?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll allow it if you can answer.
I don't know when that's from. I have asked for the metadata. I've asked for the date and received nothing.
Okay. This is a text message exchange between you and Ms. Hurd on October 29th, 2013, correct?
It looks like it is, yes.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 195 with the appropriate identifiers redacted.
We would object on relevance grounds, Your Honor.
And they've won this objection before
Your
this
Honor,
morning.
this is him expressing his views on her taking a meeting
So, how's it
about the
relevant?
movie, her,
So-
her career, his views.
You still haven't, the judge is like, just come up here.
Mr. Rottenborn, Your Honor, this is him expressing his views on her taking a meeting about a movie, her career. The court, approach, just come and approach. Sidebar. The court, how is that relevant? Mr. Rottenborn, he's jealous and he's controlling, and he told her, quote, no movies, no meeting, no movies, end quote. This is what he says in that text message to her. It goes entirely towards his motive for abusing her. I don't know about that. We're going to hear from Ms. Hurd about this. Well, this is directly relevant. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, it's his view on her. I mean, I don't have the context of this. I don't understand how that the court. I guess it goes to his true nature. I'll allow it. Did you have any objection to the page coming in, or do you just want the text? Ms. Myers, no, I would like the entire page. The court, all right, just get the identifiers off. Mr. Rottenborn, thank you. The court, back to open court.
So on that objection, Johnny Depp's team did not get it ruled irrelevant, and it is going to come in, and they're going to be asking about it right now.
You see
Probably not.
the text that from
Probably
Amber
not.
that says, I'm at a coffee meeting now. You see that?
I do,
Right
sir.
there. So she tells you at 12:41 p.m., I'm at a coffee meeting now. We'll be home soon. And then you respond, holy crack whores, no goddamn meetings. No movies. Why? Why do you deviate from our agreement? What species of meeting? Fuck it. Just tell me when you get home. Did I read that right?
You did.
I would also like to know the
Coffee
genus
meeting.
of that meeting.
You didn't want her to take the meeting that she was taking that day, correct?
It seems as though we had an agreement. What seems like we had an agreement to do something together. I'm actually asking what species of mating. So this is not necessarily
It's interesting that Rottenborn's letting him
text. It's just
answer.
why do you deviate from our agreement? It's not about her doing films. How do you think
So why are you breaking our plans?
Sir?
You tell her no goddamn meetings, no movies, because you didn't want her acting. You wanted to control her career, correct?
Objection compound.
That's patently
hold on,
untrue, and it's a
Mr.
great
Depp,
guess.
sir. All right, yes, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
I just cannot live like this. She is as full of shit as a Christmas goose. Miss Heard wasn't the only one who had a problem with your drinking, correct?
Sir, if anyone had a problem with my drinking at any time in my life, it was me. The only person that I have ever abused in my life is myself.
In fact, you
Wow.
tried to hide your drinking from
I think
your
that's a
daughter, Lily
powerful
Rose,
statement.
didn't you?
Objection relevance.
What's the relevance?
When your nerves are
But,
pushed.
sir,
No.
Can we approach, Your Honor?
Pardon.
No. My internet objection has objected to compound. When
Mr. Rottenborn, can we approach Your Honor? The witness, pardon. The court, okay. Sidebar. Mr. Rottenborn, again, she's brought his kids into it. He said that they hated Miss Heard, they didn't like her, blah, blah, blah. And he's testified that no one had a problem with his drinking. He said, quote, no one's had a problem but me, end quote. And here, the next text I'm going to bring up is one where he says, and this is directly contrary to his testimony so far, he says, quote, now Lily Rose hates me because she thinks I'm drinking and she's right, but I can't admit it or I die in her eyes, end quote. That's entirely relevant because it undermines the court. What's the date, Mr. Rottenborn? January 21st, 2014, directly in the middle of their relationship, Miss Myers. That's not tied to any incidents of abuse. I don't believe he's denied drinking during the relationship. The court, I'll allow that. We're moving forward at some point, Mr. Rottenborn. I am. I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I have a few more drug things to do. Oh, dear Lord. And then the court, that sounds interesting. I'm imagining there's a good bit of sarcasm there. Mr. Rottenborn, I'm moving as fast as I can. I think I'm less than 30 minutes away. The court, all right, I'll overrule the objection. Move on. Mr. Rottenborn, thank you, Your Honor. Back to open court.
the drag
Mr. Depp, is
between
this a picture of you
is
passed out in a
exhausting.
chair during daylight hours?
Again, isn't passed out. That's a very specific term. Sleep could be one. Passed out.
Let's try it this way. This is a picture of you in a chair, correct?
That
There we
is
go.
correct.
Move for the admission of 1092, Your Honor.
Any objection?
I'm relevance, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'm trying to move this along, and when we stop with
Well,
relevance,
you want to lay a foundation? I just don't.
Yeah.
this is a picture of Mr. Depp. We've introduced another on Thursday, another picture of that.
What is the date of this photograph? I'm sorry.
Sidebar. Mr. Rottenborn, just three of these. I'm trying to, the court, I know, but what's the relevancy as far as the date? Do you have a frame for this, Mr. Rottenborn? Miss Heard can testify to these. I don't know what the day is, but if it says it's him, and again, I'm thinking here, if they just turned over everything with the metadata and everything, wouldn't it have the date? Just saying. But if he says it's him, and again, the court, it's him, but it's not relevant unless I get a time frame. If you'll wait until she gets on the stand and bring all these in, that's fine, Mr. Rottenborn. I'm happy to do that to speed it on. I believe they're all relevant because they all go towards his systemic drug abuse. Why does that matter? The court, well, maybe they are relevant, but that could have been taken yesterday, then it wouldn't be relevant. That's my problem. She objected to relevance. I have to sustain at this time unless you lay a foundation. Mr. Rottenborn, well, he's not going to know when. The court, then I guess you have to wait until Miss Heard. Mr. Rottenborn, I have pictures of him passed out on the floor. Miss Myers, you have not allowed us to lay that foundation. The court, if you have pictures of him this weekend passed out, they're not relevant, Mr. Rottenborn. I take your point. In an effort to move along, dear God, I'll skip through these and we'll bring them in through Miss Heard's testimony. The court, okay, that would be perfect. Back to open court.
Take that down.
Your Honor, and he lost.
Exhibit 470.
He
Michelle,
lost that
please.
objection again, and he keeps losing these objections. But him going, I'm just trying to move this along. No, you have to have proper grounds to admit your evidence. Moving it along is not a grounds for admitting
Mr.
evidence.
Depp, is the bottom text on this page a text exchange or a text message from you to your personal assistant, Stephen Duders, on September 3rd, 2015?
That's what it looks like, yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of this exhibit with just that text and the appropriate redactions. Exhibit 470.
I think this is what we're going to see, that Depp's lawyers just start picking him down because he is falling apart a little bit.
Again, of relevance, Your Honor.
Yep.
And cumulative.
I'll allow this one if we
Thank you, Your Honor.
The judge, we'll see if the judge starts getting annoyed. The huffing is very odd to me. That it almost feels
Permission to
like
publish, Your Honor.
Rottenborn's like, oh my God, Your Honor, come on. Like,
Thank you.
why can't I just get my exhibits in? So we'll see.
You brought this lawsuit about the op-ed specifically.
Oh, good.
but
Relevant
for years
things.
prior to the date that Ms. Heard wrote the op-ed, there were numerous negative news stories about you. You'd agree with that, correct?
Objection compound.
He was going to agree.
I'll sustain its compound.
He was about to
For
agree. This
years
is why
prior
you
to
wait.
2018, when Amber wrote the op-ed, there were numerous negative news stories about you that were released into the public, correct?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll allow it if you can answer.
What news stories? What do you mean by negative?
2018, you're saying?
Correct.
Yes, it all started with Ms. Heard going directly to a court to get a TRO, which is
We know what it
with a
is.
bruise on her face and paparazzi. That was the sort of beginning of the ball rolling down the hill and gaining momentum.
There were lots of
And
negative
destroying
stories
me.
about you prior to May 27th.
I actually see the
2016,
point he's
when
trying to get to
Amber
here.
went into court, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Now it's 2016. I'll allow it if you can answer.
There are plenty of negative stories about you prior to that date, weren't there?
Like what?
So I've been in the racket of Hollywood since 1984.
Mr. Depp, I'm asking you a yes or no question.
No, you
there
didn't.
were plenty of negative news stories about you prior to May 27th, 2016, correct?
He can say, I don't know.
From 1984 up until then, they're both. So of course people write negative stories.
Sure. And you just testified to the jury that it all started on May 27th, 2016. So that's why I asked you to clarify about the negative stories prior to that date.
He said this.
You'd agree that there were, correct?
These types of stories.
Can you be specific about the stories? Of course there's been negative stories.
So he's trying to get to the point that Johnny Depp's reputation wasn't damaged, that this didn't all start with Amber Heard, that there were plenty of stories written about him in the years leading up, and this isn't all her fault. I think that's his point.
Exhibits in one sort of compendium, all press articles about Mr. Depp, if I may approach.
What's the relevance?
Your Honor, in having received this, I would like to preemptively lodge a hearsay, lack of foundation, and
He hasn't got him in evidence yet. Are you moving?
No,
these to
I'm
evidence?
happy to approach, but they're certainly not being admitted for the truth of the matter asserted, but I'm happy to approach and discuss if you'd like.
Well, then what are they being admitted for?
Sidebar. The court, I mean, if they don't come in, you're just going to use them to what, Mr. Rottenborn? So, yeah. The court, that's not an answer. The court, he said that there were articles written, so it's not impeachment. What is it, Mr. Rottenborn? So I'm going to introduce them as evidence. So defamation, we focus a lot on falsity, but the words also have to be defamatory. And the Shaker case, Virginia Supreme Court 290, Virginia 83, says that, quote, defamatory words, end quote, you have to have the defamatory staying, quote, defamatory words are those tending to harm the reputation of another as to lower him in the estimation of the community or to deter third persons from associating with him, end quote. And then they go on to describe the nature of that. The court says, quote, we have stated that defamatory language tends to injure one's reputation in the common estimation of mankind, to throw contumely, shame, or disgrace upon him, or which tends to hold him up to scorn, ridicule, or contempt, or which is calculated to render him infamous, odious, or ridiculous, end quote. Ridiculous is good one there. So this goes directly to elements that they have to prove in order to win this case, that not only were the statements false, but that they have the defamatory sting. And so the fact that all these articles, a drop in the bucket, that these were out there, what I propose to do is to get him to admit that this headline is not hearsay. It's for his reputation, what the public knew, whether true or not, and I'd like to go through them. So that's why I gave them all to him at once, so we could move expeditiously through this. I will say one of them is the headline. Oh, God. I will say one of them is the headline or the subject of the UK suit. Trying again. I don't plan to emphasize that. The court, I don't see how they can get into evidence. If you maybe ask him, Mr. Rottenborn, I'll ask him about it. I don't need to get them in, but I would like to go through and get him to acknowledge that as of this date, an article was written that said why. An article was written that said why. And if they don't come into evidence, that's fine at this point. I think that's very relevant. And under the Shaker case, it goes to the heart of what he has to prove. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, most of these articles have absolutely nothing to do with the defamatory statements that were made in the op-ed, which is that he was an abuser of a woman. These are completely irrelevant. Mr. Rottenborn, doesn't matter. Well, then you're agreeing, right, that they're irrelevant. Ms. Myers, this goes to a completely different aspect of reputation that's not at issue in this case. Mr. Rottenborn, doesn't matter. Its reputation as a whole is what the Supreme Court says to look at, that you look at, quote, or intending so to harm the reputation of another as to lower him in the estimation of the community, end quote. When you look at these articles, something by Ms. Hurd saying, quote, 2 years ago I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, end quote, is a lot less likely to have any impact. That's iffy, in my opinion. The court, but this one doesn't come in. You can't ask him about this one, Mr. Rottenborn. Okay, I won't. The court, I have to go through these separately. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, the headlines themselves are hearsay. They lack any foundation. Some of these are tabloids, Mr. Rottenborn. They're not hearsay. They're not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. The court, but they're being offered because you're saying they ruined his reputation, Mr. Rottenborn. I know, but it's something that says, quote, apparently Johnny Depp was drunk, end quote. I don't care if Johnny Depp was drunk. Well, then why are you bringing it in? But if that's out in the public, that's directly relevant to his reputation. I'm not saying that they proved something. I'm saying that the public knew that these were out there. And that's under the Shaker case. That's the heart of the case, Your Honor. If he had been someone with a crystal clean record who had never had any negative press about him, whatever's being sued, whatever statement is the subject of defamation case is going to potentially carry more defamatory sting than someone who's had all this stuff written about him. I don't know. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, an article does not establish what someone's reputation is. The court, it's out in the public because he's a public person, so I understand that. I'm just seeing which ones of these are cumulative. Mr. Rottenborn, that one that you're looking at, all right, the court, none of them come into evidence, but you can ask him about them. Mr. Rottenborn, thank you, I'll take that out. The court, and you're just doing the headlines. Mr. Rottenborn, yes, nothing more. So he's going to become he's just going to read these headlines, like tabloid headlines, so good for you. The court, and the dates, I assume, Mr. Rottenborn, and the dates, yes, Your Honor. The court, the date of the op-ed again, Mr. Rottenborn, December 18th, 2018. The court, I think we already did this one. Mr. Rottenborn, we did. I'll take it out. The court, you want to see the ones? Mr. Rottenborn, yeah, okay. The court, if you want to switch stacks with me, I can. If you want to make sure, Mr. Rottenborn, sure. The court, you might take a look at what I have. So I guess I've got these stacks of papers and they're kind of tag teaming going through them. Ms. Myers, thank you. Mr. Rottenborn, I'm just going to set these to the side. I hope we get to see the piles. Ms. Myers, I would maintain my relevance objection. The court, it's a reputation of a public person, so that's out in the public. They're not coming into evidence, but he can question about it, and you can redirect about it as well. But I just want to make sure. Mr. Rottenborn, Your Honor, with this one, I would propose to read the title, but then the subtitle as well. The court, okay, that's fine. Ms. Myers, can I see the subtitle? Mr. Rottenborn, after this, I only have one little module, and then I'm done. Thank God. The court, okay, thank you. Mr. Rottenborn, thank you, Your Honor. Can I get that back from the witness? Maybe it might make sense for me too. The court, that one, you can take mine if you like. They're swapping papers, it sounds like. Mr. Rottenborn, okay, I think there were only 4. I can take his out really quick. The court, okay, Mr. Rottenborn, do you want to give this to the witness, please? And then this has the full set. The court, okay, Mr. Rottenborn, but I'll let you know when I skip over one. The court, okay, that's fine. Thank you. Back to open court.
They're not being admitted to the truth. They're just being admitted for what? The fact that these articles were written.
Please take
Thank
a look
you.
at the stack of articles in front of you.
Has Amber given access to her iCloud storage yet? No. What will happen if she doesn't? Possibly a jury instruction that she did not turn over evidence and it hurt
it's
them.
a stack of hit
Yes,
pieces.
the first one is
generated
called
by Ms. Heard's publicity team.
Mr. Depp,
Oh.
we're going to try to get through this as quickly as possible.
Hey, that's not happening.
I'm going to ask
Stating
you
what
about
they
the
are,
first
sir.
one. Well, we're going to talk
stating
about
what
them.
they are.
The first one is
A
entitled,
stack
it's from The Guardian. You see
of
that?
hit pieces.
Apparently drunk.
Yes, and this is an article from November 15th,
By Miss
2014,
Heard's.
entitled "Apparently Drunk Johnny Depp Cut Off at Hollywood Film Awards Ceremony." Correct?
That's what it says, yes, sir.
Does anyone have a
The next
question that Johnny
article
Depp drinks and uses
Is
drugs at
an
this
article
point?
From
Does this
May
help?
7th, 2016.
Does it help?
It's entitled "Johnny Depp, Friends and Family Seriously Concerned About Him. Here's Why."
Yes.
Correct.
How did they know?
The next article from May 1st, 2017.
This might
before
backfire
Ms.
spectacularly.
Heard filed new Pirates movie set.
Somebody
Did I read
said
that
that.
right?
You did, reportedly.
The next
These are
article,
all hit
also
pieces.
from May
These are
10th,
drags, sir.
2017.
This is a pathetic attempt.
Mr. Depp,
Oh,
please just
shit.
respond to the question that I'm asking you.
He
What's
did?
The next
Mr.
question,
Rottenborn?
the next document,
Oh, shit.
an article published in Vanity Fair
Oh, shit.
on May 10th, 2017,
Oh,
is
my.
entitled "Johnny Depp's Financial Woes Might Sink the Next Pirates of the Caribbean." Did I read that right?
Talk about the finances.
You did. I don't know
The
how
next
my
article,
financial woes would do
May
that.
25th, talked about the immediate
Thanks, y'all.
impact that those accusations on May 27th, 2016 allegedly had on your career, correct?
I'm going to look for a backup
Yes.
that has closed
You
captioning.
testified earlier in your examination on direct that when Amber made those accusations in 2016, you said you lost, quote, nothing less than everything, correct?
He did say that.
That is correct, sir.
But
This
you
is the
didn't
pacing
try to get the restraining
Cross
order
should
lifted in
have.
2016, did you?
I don't. If she wanted a
It's a
restraining
yes or
order.
no question. You didn't try to get the restraining
No,
order
why
lifted,
would
did you?
I?
And you didn't have a divorce trial where you could respond to Amber's accusations of abuse in 2016, did you?
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
I'm asking him if he had a trial. As a fact.
I'll allow.
You didn't have a divorce trial where you could respond to Amber's accusations of abuse, did you?
No, there were no charges pressed against
You
me.
chose
She didn't
not
tell
to-
the police that I had done anything. She didn't mention. my
That's not
name.
what
And,
he's talking
you
about.
didn't have a California divorce judge decide these facts, did you?
This is what Cross is normally like.
Objection asked and answered.
I'll sustain the
chose-
objection.
You chose not to try to clear your name at that time through any sort of legal proceeding, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
I'll sustain the objection.
It's-
And you chose to sign a
She
divorce
shouldn't have sustained
agreement in
that.
which you stated that Amber had not made any false statements about you for financial gain. We looked at that, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Asked and answered. I'll sustain the objection. Next
In
question.
fact, you waited until Amber wrote
He's not listening to the
op-ed
judge.
in the Washington Post in December of 2018 to file a lawsuit against
I
him,
want to
correct?
see Rottenborn's face. He sounds pissed.
That is correct.
Can you pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 2, please?
It was the only time that I
Permission
was
to
able
publish,
to
Your Honor?
speak and use my own voice.
You chose not to sue the Washington Post in this lawsuit, correct?
Objection relevance asked and answered.
It's not been asked and answered.
It's
Hasn't been asked and answered, but I'm not sure what the relevance.
it's not relevant.
You chose to sue only Miss Heard and not the newspaper that published this article, correct?
Objection compound.
All right, I'll sustain as to compound.
You
Calls
chose
for
not
two
to sue the
conclusions.
Washington Post, correct?
Objection relevance.
I'll sustain the objection.
Move on,
You
Mr.
only
Rottenborn.
sued the author of this article, Amber Heard, correct?
Correct.
Which seems she was the one making the statements. Yes, I had the opportunity to fight back.
Permission to publish Exhibit 2, Your Honor.
All right, exhibit 2 is already in evidence.
I want to know what Exhibit
Mr.
2
Depp, you
is.
realize that the only job for this jury to decide,
Yes, sir.
its only job
He's
is
looking
to
at the jury when he
determine
talks.
whether this op-ed and this op-ed alone is defamatory.
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
I'll sustain the
It
objection.
does call for a legal
This is the
conclusion.
only writing that's the subject of this lawsuit that you brought, correct?
Same objection.
It's facts, Your Honor. He
I'll
brought
allow, I'll
the
allow that
lawsuit.
question.
We've circled
This
back round
is a
to
version
relevant
of
shit.
that story of the op-ed that I've never seen. The one that was published before, the only one I've ever seen is the one that was published
The online version.
prior to this. They changed the title because they were in fear of trouble.
Well, that
Well,
is
I move to
speculative.
strike that last testimony, Your Honor.
Well, I mean,
Whether it's the online
Let the judge
edition
answer.
or this edition in the paper,
We're getting
this
fiery.
article is the only statement, the only publication of anything that's the subject of the lawsuit that you brought, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
This is getting
Sustain the
feisty.
objection.
I hope they don't take
This
the morning
op-ed,
break while this
Mr.
is
Depp,
going
does
on. I
not
want to see
discuss
this. Keep
any
going.
of the details of your relationship that we've seen in texts and emails and recordings over the past few days, does it?
That's a whole lot of
Objection,
things.
compound, and
It's
asked and
very
answered.
compound.
Sustain both objections.
In
Rockport
fact,
is
this
so
article
so
doesn't contain any
annoyed.
details of your relationship with Ms. Heard.
Objection asked and answered.
I'll sustain the
The
objection.
only thing that this article states, Mr. Depp, is that in 2016, Amber made accusations of domestic abuse.
That's not
Correct.
the only thing it says. But okay. Be
it
mindful.
was clear that she'd made allegations in 2016.
And she
So
did that when
then,
she
yes.
obtained a restraining order against you in 2016, correct?
How would he know?
Yeah, I suppose. Yes. Yeah,
And even if you disagree with the accusations that she made against you in May 2016, it is a true fact that she did make those accusations
What do you mean
in
by true fact?
2016 and got a restraining order against you, correct?
Objection, compound, asked and answered.
Sustain the objections. Next question.
It's going to be interesting to see how this works around. I think he's getting rattled, but I think he's trying to get to the point that why didn't you fight it in 2016? Why did you wait until the 2018?
To your
article?
knowledge.
Like why didn't you do it then?
The words
The courtroom all woke up though.
that
Everybody's
Ms.
awake
Heard
now.
used in this article
Feisty.
about getting a restraining order against you in 2016, those are true, correct?
I'm sorry.
Objection,
words that
it
Ms.
states
Heard
the
used-
document.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
And Depp as a witness can say,
can
I
you
don't
go to,
understand your question. I don't understand what you're asking.
The
Can you
third
repeat
paragraph.
it?
Pull up the third paragraph, please.
I'm confused too at this point, but I think Amber Heard took her jacket off.
The
apparently.
statement that then 2 years ago,
Yeah,
Ms.
we're
Heard
finally
became
getting
a
to a
public
point.
figure
This
representing
actually
domestic
matters.
abuse. That is true, isn't it?
I'm not sure what we're looking at.
Objection,
Oh, I see it.
calls for a legal conclusion.
So I'll sustain the objection.
It's-
I'll
It's
sustain
not.
the objection.
and in 2016,
I'll talk about that in a minute.
for the first time publicly, Ms. Heard accused you of domestic abuse, correct?
In 2016.
Yes.
That's correct.
No further questions.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen,
Whoa!
why don't we go ahead and take our morning recess for
We're
15
out.
minutes. Do not do any outside research and do not talk
Cross
to anybody
is
about the case,
done.
okay? We'll come back in 15 minutes.
Redirect is on.
So now we are on a redirect. Thank God. All right.
I'm very
Could
much
we
looking
please
forward
pull
to
up
this.
Plaintiff's Exhibit 1?
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Sure.
Sean Bailey, who was the third in line, as I suppose, in the upper echelon of Disney, just basically said in the
Objection, hearsay.
He's asking how he
No,
learned.
Sean Bailey said-
It's not offered for the truth, doesn't matter.
About this,
Article.
it's not for the truth.
It's not offered for the truth. It's offered for how he learned.
She's
If you
asking.
want to approach.
You don't need to approach. It's offered for how he learned. Okay, this is a perfect time for us to switch streams.
Ms. Myers, this is about him learning about it. It's not for the truth. Mr. Rottenborn, it is the truth. The court, do you want to approach? Sidebar. Mr. Rottenborn, she's soliciting testimony on what Sean Bailey said to him about what Disney was going to do with him. It's hearsay, Ms. Myers. Well, I was asking about how he learned about it. The court, okay, redirect him. Mr. Rottenborn, thank you. By Ms. Myers. Mr. Depp, blah, 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 blah.
Sounds like they won that objection. It's not offered for the
Sean
truth.
Bailey is
It's offered for how he heard or
number
how
3,
he
or was at the
learned
time. I don't know what his status
that he
is
was
anymore, but
that he was
at the time he
losing
was
pirates.
the number 3 sort of upper echelon of Disney top dogs.
Not for the
And,
truth of the words.
Sean Bailey was quoted as saying that
Objection, hearsay.
You admitted that article 2 days ago. Shut the fuck
Where
up,
was Sean Bailey
Rottenborn.
quoted, without getting into what he was quoted
You
as
brought
saying?
up the article
quoted
already.
in whatever the article was that I was that was brought to my attention.
And can you please just clarify what article you're referring to?
I don't know what journal it came from. I don't know
Yes.
what magazine. I don't know any of that. So I don't know. I don't know who did the interview with him.
Objection, lack of foundation.
Rule objection.
Up until the point that you learned that you were not going to be in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise any longer, what was your intention with respect to future Pirates movies?
I'm Jack Sparrow for life, bitches.
Can we please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 804? Mr. Depp, do you recognize this document?
As soon as my eyes go on, I hope
Yes,
they will.
relatable. As soon as my eyes go on. Me and my reading glasses.
Scaramanga Brothers, yes. Pirates of the Caribbean, 4 and 5, yes.
What is this document?
Is this the insurance? I hope so.
I don't quite know. I'd have to read it to get some
Could we
understanding of it.
Could we scroll through so Mr. Depp can look at the rest of this document?
I wonder if this is the insurance stuff. I really hope that they address it because that's something I've been left very, very curious about. And I hope that they address it. So let's see.
Looks, this appears to me to be some species of contract. No?
He seems restrained in his objections so far today. There's stuff he could have objected
Is this
to.
a contract that you entered into?
With Disney.
Some species of contract.
Your Honor, I'd ask that Plaintiff's Exhibit
What contract?
804 be moved into evidence and
She
published.
just said 804.
I think it's outside the scope of direct or cross-examination.
It's a good
I'll
objection.
rule on that objection.
Okay. And
And wait, let me try again.
I'll reserve other objections to portions of the document, depending on what.
No, you need to bring those up now because she's admitting it into evidence
She's asking to
now.
put it all in evidence right now.
She just,
Well, then I would object to that at this point.
me and the judge are on the same page. Can you all approach? Yep, sure.
Court, all right, you want to come forward? Sign for Miss Myers. Your Honor, it's a contract. It's not hearsay. It's an agreement amongst partners. Mr. Rottenborn, well, a contract can be hearsay, Miss Myers, but it can be hearsay indiscernible due to cross-talking. It's a contract. The court, is there a Mr. Rottenborn? With the cover letter is indiscernible over the last, the court. The cover letter indiscernible of the contract. Mr. Rottenborn, isn't his first page, maybe not, no, Miss Myers, this isn't the contract. Mr. Rottenborn, is the first page the contract? The court, let me see, it says, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rottenborn, ladies and gentlemen, right, so there's a cover letter. The court, all right. So if we took out the cover letter, Mr. Rottenborn, that's fine. The court, just a contract without the cover letter. Miss Myers, certainly. The court, so 804 minus page 1, Miss Myers, okay. Mr. Rottenborn, thank you. The court, all right. Open court.
So, and now we're back with the
Mr. Depp,
contract.
If I could direct your attention
They won.
to section 6 of the contract, which is on pages 8 through 10 of the document. Mr. Depp, what does this reflect?
Sorry. It appears to be the agreement of Pirates 4 and 5.
Okay.
Compensation and merchandise.
Does it say alpacas? Does it say alpacas?
Mr. Depp, at this time, how many other franchise films had you been a part of?
And his lawyers can't assist. He has to remember what he's doing.
I'm so pathetic when it comes to knowing what movies I've done. I'm sorry. I just, I don't.
I've done too many
watch
movies.
them. I feel better not watching them. I couldn't.
Hurd's team may try to
What
use
was the
this against
question
him.
How many?
I have order in the court, or I will have you removed.
Oof.
Understood?
Your Honor,
Rottenborn's
this is
huffs
a good stopping
All right.
point.
are
All
annoying
right, ladies and
me.
gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our lunch recess. Again, do not do any outside discussions, and don't talk to each other about it, okay? And we'll see you
So
after
we've got an
lunch, okay?
hour for lunch.
If everybody in the courtroom could still be quiet, please. Court is in session. Thank you.
She's getting very annoyed with the audience today.
So it looks like this is after lunch for the day. So recess taken from 1:16 to 2:20. The bailiff, all rise. Please be seated and come to order. The court, are we ready for the jury? Ms. Brederhoff, Your Honor, may we approach? The court, yes, ma'am. Sidebar. Ms. Brederhoff, Your Honor, today the audience has been much more rowdy. The court, I'm trying. Yeah. Ms. Brederhoff, and I know Your Honor has. But they've been perhaps, Your Honor can say something in addition to it, explaining to them a little bit, and I think they can be admonished to the court. Well, if I could get, I was waiting for objections, honestly. I'm not going to, Ms. Brethoff. Oh, is that what, that's what we should do? We weren't what to do with that. Good job, Ms. Brethoff. Mr. Rottenborn, and I'm just kind of letting you know that, every time the court, and sometimes that's trial strategy, so I don't want to say anything. I don't want to interject myself in either one of your cases unless you object to something, except if it gets too loud, Ms. Brethoff. And I know that it has impacted the jury also. They laugh when they laugh. The court, right, yeah. I'm not going to say, I think they got it. I'll do it again if I think there's an issue. Ms. Brethoff, okay, Mr. Chu, yeah, I don't think he's planned anything distracting. The court, I don't know. I mean, he has had some comments that if there was an objection, I would have addressed it. Ms. Brethoff, okay, thank you, Your Honor. The court, okay. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. Open court.
We're going to see the bailiffs telling people what to do for sure. And I'm not surprised. The bailiffs should be telling people what to do. If there's any more laughing in court, the judge is going to have an issue. I wonder if she's talking scheduling with them or if this is substantive matters. This attorney is not the one directing the witness on the stand. So I wonder if something happened over lunch. Again, this is all me literally coming in here going, what could be going on, and asking those questions. So this could either be about scheduling or something could have happened over the lunch break or come to the attorney's attention that they really want to talk about. So I am interested to see if the judge says anything when we resume. The jury has not come in yet. So we are going to see the jury coming in just a moment.
How about your own interactions with the couple? How did you get along with them both?
I think very well. They were really open to me, and I mean, my background is quite formal, so it was quite an informal setting. I was able to ask questions to either of them. Ms. Heard especially, it was really helpful to get information about.
Thank you for the work you do, Gwen.
Basic stuff like that. Or anything. It was good interaction all the time.
I love that he's like, my work is normally formal at Buckingham Palace
Now,
with the fucking queen.
You mentioned wine.
I got to ask them
Can you tell
questions.
us, to what extent did
He's
you
adorable.
observe either of them consume alcohol over the course of these 4 weeks?
Sure. When I started that job, or when I was taking that job on, I was told, I think by Mr. Depp's assistant, that he was. Oh, sorry.
A much different response.
Can you answer without telling what you were told?
I'm terribly sorry. I'm sorry,
I
sir.
was made aware that Mr. Depp was.
Could you put your microphone on?
Okay.
I was made
Same
aware.
objection. He's explaining what he was been told. Now he just said I was informed.
I don't think it's offered for the truth.
Actually,
Your
he
Honor.
said
think
I was
it's
made
just
aware.
Offered for
It-
to explain
explain his
own,
actions.
behavior towards the couple.
Yes.
No, can we approach?
No, you don't need to approach. Who is this? This is Rottenborn 2.0, because that's not Rottenborn. That's Rottenborn's colleague that's talking exactly like Rottenborn.
What is happening here in this sidebar? Yeah, this is Ben King on direct. All right, we know what's happening now. Mr. Nadelhoff, can we approach the court? Okay, sidebar, the court. I don't know what he's going to say. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure. Mr. Nadelhoff, I think he's going to say indiscernible. Court. He was told that, Mr. Nadelhoff, he was told by Depp's agent, Depp's assistant, that indiscernible. If it's not offered for the truth, what else would it be for? Great question. Mr. Moniz, yeah, it's just being offered for the fact. And that is what he is going to say, I think, is that he was informed. He told her on that basis he was bringing wine. He understood that he wasn't bringing wine to Mr. Depp. It was just to explain his own understanding of the context. Mr. Nadelhoff, Your Honor, it's hearsay. The court, still hearsay. Thank you. Back to open court.
So Mr. King,
Yes.
moving past the conversation, let's
Right.
not touch on that. After those 4 weeks, did you ever work for Mr. Depp or Ms. Heard again?
I did a couple of occasions. The following year was the first one. The following spring
Okay, and where was that?
in Australia.
Oh,
And
shit.
what is it? Was it unusual for you to be in Australia?
In Australia, maybe, but not unusual for me to travel for clients from my assignments to wherever it was needed.
He's the house manager in Australia.
How and what did you do next?
I'm really enjoying his testimony.
I saw they were engaged across away there, so I went into the main kitchen area, which, as I said, was just directly ahead of those main steps, and spoke to David Kipper.
And following that conversation, what did you do?
Well, he told me that Mr. Depp had
Objection hearsay.
All right.
Your Honor, it's
Not offered
maybe
for the
a brush.
truth.
Okay.
Yes, that's probably fair.
Sidebar. The court. One, the question was, what did you do after you spoke with Dr. Kipper? Let's get that straight. Mr. Moniz, understood. Your Honor, Mr. King just searched the house for the finger. So... Right. Okay. Now I know what's happening. So he's just going to say he was told he needed to look for the finger. Oh my God. It's not being offered for the truth. It's just being offered to explain why he was going around looking for the finger. He's not going to testify he was told at this point how it was lost. So it's not being offered for the truth. It's purely the effect on the listener. Mr. Nadelhoft, indiscernible. Mr. Moniz, definitionally not hearsay, Your Honor. It's not even a word. It's simply being offered to explain why he is going to the court. If he starts saying something about Johnny, the court, if he starts saying something about Johnny, we know what he's going to say. Mr. Moniz, he's going to say he was informed that he needed to go find Mr. Depp's finger. The court, okay, not the reason for it. Mr. Moniz, he was not informed of how he lost his finger. The court, I think that's fine. Okay, back to open court.
You can answer the question. What did you do next?
So I spoke to David Kipper, who was in the kitchen area, seemingly rummaging through a bin.
Trash can?
He said that Mr. Depp had sustained an injury to his finger, one of his fingers, and he was looking for the fingertip that it said it had been severed. So I said, well, shall I help you? As one would. And he said, yeah, that would be a good idea. I left him in the kitchen. He said there was a lot more damage downstairs. So I went to, we split up. He left him in the kitchen. I went downstairs
to look
to search
for the finger.
At some point, was Mr. Depp's fingertip found?
Yes.
Is this the weirdest shit that's
Who
ever
found
happened to you at work, Ben?
I did.
And where did you find it?
Downstairs in the bar area, the games room bar area. On the floor around that area, there were puddles of what smelt like alcohol to me. Seemed like several drinking glasses, a couple of bottles. One was a Stolichnaya vodka bottle.
Stoli. But the way he says Stoli sounds way better.
As I said, there was a big chunk out of the bar itself, the bar marble top. At the end of the bar, there was plaster damage right at the end of the bar on the wall.
I would like to...
he objected to the answer to his own question.
Defendant's 378. It's a recording, and I want to play a couple of times.
No, you don't need to play.
07
a couple of different timestamps.
through
Are we getting
1319.
video?
Is that the only segment you wish to have?
And then I would also use...
I like the Vasquez is coming in clutch, telling him what's
1951
happening.
through 2138.
And is this going to be used again, or is this...
I think it would be A.
Okay, 378A. Any objection to 378A?
Yes, Your Honor, we do have an objection. I believe this is a recording that has the voices of people other than Ms. Hurd and Mr. Depp, and on that basis, it's hearsay.
Okay.
Unless I'm incorrect about which document we're talking about.
Can we
Sure.
Sure. Let's approach.
Sidebar. The court. Transcript. Mr. Nadelhoft. Correct. But the court. The highlighted parts are the ones you want to play. Mr. Nadelhoft. Yeah. Highlighted parts are the ones I want to play. It's on page 519. The court. Sure. Mr. Moniz. Thank you, Your Honor. Who's talking here? Mr. Nadelhoft. This is a statement from Mr. Judge and is evidence from an agent of Mr. Depp. The court. You would have to lay a foundation, and Mr. Judge is no longer with us. So, Mr. Nadelhoft, it's been testified to 20 years, Mr. Judge. I think actually Mr. King testified that he was Mr. Moniz. Your Honor, even if we can get around hearsay on this, Mr. Nadelhoft, and it's also present impression as well. Mr. Moniz, Your Honor, even if he can get around hearsay on this, there's no foundation for Mr. Judge's knowledge. He was not able to testify. What's the foundation for even hearing his voice, Mr. Nadelhoft? I can ask if it's his voice, Mr. Moniz. Regardless, there's no foundation for Mr. Judge's knowledge, and it's still hearsay, Mr. Nadelhoft. And then on page 9, there's Mr. King. Mr. Moniz, can I see your... I'm sorry, the court, page 9. Mr. Moniz, who is Jay? The court, that's Mr. Moniz. Oh, Jerry Judge. I mean, Your Honor, this is all Mr. Nadelhoft. There's a question about what's happening at the time. It's not talking about the court. I'll sustain the objection. It's not coming in. Mr. Nadelhoft, can I ask, so you're saying this is all hearsay? I just want to make sure. The court, it's hearsay. Mr. Judge is obviously deceased. We can't lay a foundation. Mr. Nadelhoft, it's also a statement that has an interest of a party person. The court, that's Mr. Judge's statement. Mr. Nadelhoft, okay. The court, no. Mr. Nadelhoft, okay, Your Honor, I don't want to make you upset, but I do want to, for the record, I want to ask you about another recording. I understand your ruling is going to be with Mr. Judge. The court, okay, I'll sustain the same, for the record. I'll sustain the objection. Mr. Nadelhoft, so it's clear it would be Exhibit 380. Court, 380? Mr. Nadelhoft, yeah. Court, okay. Mr. Nadelhoft, so you're going to sustain that as hearsay. Is that right? The court, any other objection other than foundation? Mr. Money's hearsay, foundation? Yes, adds it in. I think that covers it, Your Honor. The court, okay, thank you. Back to open court.
Excuse me, sorry about that. Going back to the photos that you took for a moment of that damage in the house, you recall giving that testimony?
He lost something.
Yes.
Okay.
Because now he's backing up to try to lay
Depp
foundation.
ask you for the photos?
No.
Did you give the photos to counsel for Mr. Depp?
Some of them, yes. Yeah.
Did you withhold any photos for Mr. Depp or his counsel?
Are we talking
withhold any photos from anybody?
They're approaching. I wonder if they're approaching to talk scheduling.
All right, so it looks like we're finishing up with Ben King. The witness, of course. Thank you, the court. All right, you can step down, sir. Ms. Bredhoft, Your Honor, may we approach? Sidebar, Ms. Bredhoft, Your Honor, there are 2 court orders requiring them to produce all those photos, and they did not produce those. I would like to be able to get the court to order Mr. King to turn them over. The court, okay, Ms. Bredhoft. If not, we're asking for spoliation instruction. I just want to give the court that. Mr. Moniz, first of all, Your Honor, this is obviously not somebody who's employed by Mr. Depp. The court, understand that the question is, are those photos in your custody, Mr. Moniz? They're not in our custody, possession, or control. But we have no objection to him turning the court. Well, we'll get them before he leaves. Get everything that's on his phone, and we'll turn it all over, Mr. Moniz. Those are after the close of discovery, obviously. But yeah, I mean, if he has those photos he hasn't produced, then yeah, that's fine. The court, sure. Why don't you get them tonight? Turn them over tonight to Ms. Bredhoft so she can have them. And you know, I don't have a feeling that they're going to complain when they get, anyway, okay. And he's subject to recall. So if we need to call him back at any time, we can call him back. I'll give you leeway to have those questions, obviously, and you can waive it today, Mr. Moniz. And just as a point of clarification, Your Honor, this is not a witness to, it is a UK resident not subject to subpoena at the court. I know. But he said he handed over 10 to 20 photos. It may be prior counsel. I don't know, but still. This resolves the issue. I can take care of it from there, okay? Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. And it looks like that's the end for today. And with that, we are done with day 9 of the trial. Woohoo!
Ladies and gentlemen, that comes to the end of our day. So we're going to excuse you for the evening. Again, do not do any outside research and don't talk to anybody. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. Okay, have a good evening. All right, thank you.
And we out. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
So we are here on day 10, and it is the morning housekeeping. The bailiff all rise. Please be seated and come to order. The court. All right. Good morning. Do we have any preliminary matters before we have the jury? Ms. Bredhoft, Your Honor, may we approach, please? The court. Yes, ma'am.
They're approaching the bench immediately. Oh, what happened overnight, I wonder. I have no idea what they're approaching about, but we will see.
Ms. Bredhoft, Your Honor, we received 126 photos. The court. Oh, goodness. Ms. Bredhoft, last night, almost shortly before midnight. The court. Okay.
What's going on? You guys, something is happening. What is happening?
Ms. Bredhoft, we're still assessing them. The court, I understand, Ms. Bredhoft. And so we'll determine, but I wanted the court to know, and now we have those. The court, you have them? Good. Ms. Bredhoft, and we're going to figure out, the court, how you're going to use them? Good, that's fine. And he's still under the witness, indiscernible. Yeah, I guess this is Ben King. And we, the court, you might do the same thing. Okay, Ms. Bredhoft. And then Officer Sands will be by video this afternoon. I'm trying to work with counsel to work off those exhibits because that was before we started. The court, all right, Ms. Bredhoft, working those with Your Honor. So we're going to see if we can get those figured out and if there's any we disagree on. But we want to argue about those before we do the deposition. The court, okay, the witness, we should be able to work that out. The court, right, and it's a remote witness first, and then you're going to have a live witness before the deposition. The witness, yes. Ms. Bredhoft, correct. The court, okay, so that'll work out. Ms. Bredhoft, thanks. The witness, thank you, Your Honor. The court, we can go ahead and bring the jury in. Whereupon the jury entered the courtroom and the following proceedings took place.
Doc, we like the deal.
Good morning, Dr. Curry.
Good morning.
Or at least I do. Y'all might not. I can't speak
I'm
for
Wayne
you.
Dennison.
Who?
Could you state your full name for the record?
Shannon Curry.
Wait, who the fuck are you?
What do you do for a living?
You're bringing in somebody
I am a
new?
clinical and forensic psychologist.
This will be interesting.
So there were a couple of characteristics that she noted in her self-report that were consistent with these personality disorders. The first was actually my own behavioral observations of her based on her self-report. So one of the hallmark characteristics of histrionic personality disorder is sort of a overly dramatic presentation. We call this impressionistic speech. So it tends to be very flowery. It uses a lot of descriptive words like magical, wonderful, and it can go on for quite some time, and yet it really lacks any substance. So at the end, you're left wondering what was just said or what the answer is to the actual question.
All of the cross-examination.
So that occurred a number of times. And it also represented the quick shifts you'll see between emotions. So she would suddenly be one way, and then she would become very animated or very sad. And when people are displaying these emotions with this personality disorder, there's a sense of shallowness to it. People who are observing them will feel like it's almost play acting, and they might not be able to put their finger on it. But part of it is because of the rapidness with which the person can switch emotions, and also the lack of substance. They don't really refer to, I feel this way. They might describe emotions, they might describe events, but very rarely, and Ms. Heard did not say, I feel vulnerable. She never really indicated a vulnerable feeling of her own.
What psychological tests did you perform?
Okay, so psychological tests, I'll just go in order. I administered something called the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory 2. The 2 means that it's the second edition. And this is something we call an objective measure. So it asks 567 questions or statements, and the person either agrees or disagrees with them, how much the statement represents them. And this test has been around since 1943. There are more than 10,000 studies showing that it is appropriate for determining somebody's personality traits. It measures all of those things I sort of mentioned, how a person thinks, feels, and behaves in multiple different aspects of their lives. It also measures very accurately any signs of mental illness or dysfunction. And the reason I also really like this test, whenever you're using a test for an evaluation that's going to be used in a forensic setting, people have a lot of incentive to present themselves in a way that's going to benefit their case. And they may want to look like they're sicker than they really are. They may want to look much healthier than they really are. And some of those incentives, they may not even realize that they're intending to do that. So it can be conscious or unconscious, but you really need to have a test that can check for that. We have a number of scales that can show us all the different, if somebody's trying to say they're the most wonderful person on earth, or if they're just trying to deny problems, and if they're doing that again in a very clever way or more of an obvious way. So that test was my choice for this case. There's one of the primary things I learned was that she had a very sophisticated way of minimizing any personal problems.
Not her fault.
I also learned that she tends to, there were a number of characteristics that were consistent with the eventual diagnoses, but some of the primary characteristics, and I'm going to try to condense 25 pages here, were essentially externalization of blame, tending to have a lot of inner hostility that is attempted to be controlled, a tendency to be very self-righteous, but to also deny that self-righteousness and to judge others critically against these sort of high standards for moral value, but also to deny doing that, essentially to claim that one is very non-judgmental and accepting, and yet very full of rage, really. So externalization of blame, a lot of inner anger and hostility, sometimes that anger among these groups with similar scores, these people might have that anger kind of explode out at times. They tend to be very passive aggressive. They may be self-indulgent, very self-centered. They could use manipulation tactics to try to get their needs met, very needy of attention, acceptance, approval. They tend to distance people who are close to them. Initially, they may seem very charming. They're very socially sophisticated, actually.
This ties in.
All right. Yes, sir.
Why are you approaching? You should know what's coming next.
Sidebar. Mr. Dennison, Your Honor, I'm going to ask her about what other parts of her review led her to make the borderline diagnosis, and among the issues that the witness will testify to is that Ms. Heard made a self-report of arrests, and the issue was raised previously in motions in limine. I did not want to raise it in front of the court until I had talked with you about it. Ms. Bredehoft, Your Honor, Ms. Heard arrest charges were dropped in 2000. The court, I think it's highly prejudicial. So this is the start of this whole arrest issue that comes up so many times later. The court, I think it's highly prejudicial, so I'm not going to allow that. Do you think you can do that without informing your witness not to? Mr. Dennison, yeah. The court, okay. Mr. Dennison, thank you. Back to open court.
It says Dr. Curry will testify, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Okay. And this is a signed pleading, correct? On behalf of Mr. Depp.
I'm not sure I understand what that means.
You don't understand what a signed pleading is?
No.
Okay. Do you understand that Mr. Depp's counsel prepared this and served it on Ms. Heard's counsel?
I'm not an attorney. I don't understand necessarily all of these procedures.
Okay. Are you aware that Mr. Depp is on an audio recording years earlier taunting Amber Heard that she has a borderline personality disorder?
I was made aware of that in this case, yes.
So you did
actually,
one of the audios
not necessarily taunting, but I do recall hearing that Mr. Depp had used that phrase.
So it's a coincidence that you now think she has those attributes after the attorneys listed it in February 2021 before you'd looked at anything, and Mr. Depp had made that accusation to Ms. Heard years earlier.
My opinions aren't based on coincidence.
It's objection.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Dr.
Right.
Yes. Compound, I'll sustain the objection.
All right. It's a coincidence then that you came up with symptoms of borderline personality disorder years later after Mr. Depp has been taunting Ms. Heard in an audio tape.
I can't speak to whether or not there's a coincidence. What I can tell you is my opinions are based on the results of my evaluation.
And it's a coincidence that Mr. Depp's counsel attributed that to you, that said that to you in February 2021 before you'd looked at anything, correct?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Now, would you agree that a disproportionate number of women are tagged with a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder?
No, that's not quite right.
75%?
The way you phrased it is not quite right.
Tell me what's right.
Okay. So there are more women who have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder than men. It's more prevalent in women.
And trauma can cause borderline personality disorders, can't it?
No.
Never?
Right now, we know that there are people who have borderline personality disorder who have sustained childhood trauma. There are also people who have borderline personality disorder who have had no childhood trauma. So like most personality disorders, and really like most mental health issues in general, there seems to be both a biological component. In this case with borderline personality disorder, the research tends to support a genetic component and possibly a neurological component. And then there is also possibly an environmental component triggering those genetic markers.
Do you know the percentage of women who are victims of IPV, intimate partner violence, or domestic abuse who are diagnosed with borderline personality disorders?
I can't tell you the percentage off of the top of my head, but I do know that there is a larger, women with borderline personality disorder tend to have a higher prevalence of being involved in intimate partner violence relationships, being the receiver of violence, and being the perpetuators of violence.
Now, you've never been asked to testify or serve as an expert with respect to whether someone has a bipolar disorder. Is that correct?
A bipolar disorder?
Yes.
That's not correct.
Okay. Would you agree that if you did not find something that would be in favor of Mr. Depp and negative to Ms. Heard, that you wouldn't be an expert in this case? They're not going to bring
Essentially,
you into court if you're going to say that Ms. Hurd is right and Mr. Depp is wrong, correct?
so as a forensic psychologist, my obligation is to the court, is to the fact finder. I present science regardless of what that science may be. Now, when I take a case, my retainer agreement is explicit about that, and I discuss that with the attorneys.
I'm asking you a question. I'd like you to try to answer
Okay.
my question. You understand that if you found favorably to Ms. Hurd and negatively to Mr. Depp, you wouldn't be here, right? You wouldn't be testifying.
Objection speculative.
No, okay, sorry.
Hold on. The objection is speculation.
That's not speculation.
Oh, I'll sustain the objection if you want to ask.
Okay. If it goes to bias, Your Honor.
I sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay, all right. You were, in fact, so excited about being involved in this case that you told your husband, even though this was a highly confidential matter, that you were going to be conducting the examination of Ms. Hurd, didn't you?
That is not accurate.
You not only told your husband, but you told Ms. Hurd that you told your husband, correct?
Ms. Bredehoff, that is not accurate.
What is accurate?
You're incorrect. That is not correct.
Is your testimony today under oath that you did not tell your husband that you were going to be conducting the examination of Amber?
That is my testimony.
Okay. Let's go to page 306. So the question that was asked was because you brought muffins, you said, from your husband, right? You gave those to Ms. Hurd, correct?
May I clarify what occurred so that we can stop talking about the muffins? What happened was that I was getting ready that morning. I frequently bring muffins to the office. My husband did happen to know that there was going to be a celebrity client coming in because on the mornings that occurs, which often occurs, we have to actually clear the office and move the staff to the other office. So yes, on the one hand, he was aware of that. I was getting ready. I asked him to go to the bakery near our house and pick up the muffins for me because I was running late. He often has to do that because I often do run late. He brought the muffins back to the house. I brought them into the office. Ms. Hurd and I enjoyed the muffins together. I think I made a comment to her along the lines like, we can thank my husband. My husband got these for us today, meaning he purchased the muffins. We are now enjoying them because of him.
Did you say on pages 305 and 306 that you frequently have examinations of high-profile clients? You want to just take a quick look and tell us?
What, 305, 306?
Yeah, that's where we're talking about it.
Is there a line you'd like me to look at?
You can start with 15, line 15, 305. Just read through that and tell me whether you said anywhere in there that you have a lot of high-profile examinations. You do this frequently.
Objection to improper impeachment.
I don't agree.
Won't you approach, please?
Mr. Dennison, objection, improper impeachment. Ms. Bredehoff, I don't agree. The court, I want you to approach, please. Sidebar, the court, which statement are you trying to impeach here? Mr. Bredehoff, oh my God, Ms. Bredehoff. I'm trying to impeach, she added into the one that's on page 304 to 306, she added in that she has lots of high profile clients that she does this for, closes the office. She doesn't say that in there. The court, why don't you ask her, or why don't you ask, you didn't say that before, Ms. Bredehoff, I'll ask her. The court, I don't know. Ms. Bredehoff, it starts on page 305, and then her answer is on 306. She doesn't say it in there when she sees lots of high-profile clients. She added it in there. She has many high-profile clients. So stupid. Mr. Dennison, the way to answer the question exactly the way opposing counsel suggests. If she wants to ask the question about whether you said that before, the court, you mentioned that. Ms. Bredehoff, I will. The court, okay, thank you. Back to open court.
So why did your husband get the muffins for Amber Heard?
He did not get the muffins for Amber Heard.
He knew you had a high-profile client, and you were preparing for a very long time, and you asked him to pick up the muffins, correct?
I asked him to pick up the muffins for me, yes.
Okay. And do you recall Dr. Cowan testifying that he received a text message contemporaneous that Johnny did a number on me tonight. I'm safe in my support tonight, but I need some real help. Do you remember him testifying to that?
I don't remember the testimony, but I do remember seeing that text message as one of the exhibits.
And do you remember Dr. Cowan testifying that on another occasion, Amber sent him a text, "Johnny beat me up pretty good last night," end of quote.
Again,
not in this instance. She can rely on it. She testified.
Overruled.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. I didn't need to argue that hard, I guess. Do you recall that?
Again, I don't recall the testimony, but I do remember that being an exhibit. I've seen it.
And he also testified that he did not diagnose Amber with borderline personality disorder. Do you recall that testimony?
He also testified that he doesn't use diagnoses, but yes, I do recall that.
And do you recall that it was in, those words were in his notes, but he said he had written that down, but then he discounted it and determined that that was not correct for her?
Oh, you want to approach?
Sidebar. The court. Yes, sir. Mr. Dennison. So many elements to that question that I couldn't follow it. You're not alone. Ms. Bredoff, I'll withdraw that one. The court. Okay, back to open court.
All right, now let's jump to Amy Banks. Dr. Banks is a psychiatrist, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall that Dr. Banks said that she knew for certain that Mr. Depp was the one who had committed the violence because Ms. Heard reported it in the presence of Mr. Depp and he did not contradict?
I do not recall that.
Okay. And do you recall that Dr. Banks ultimately concluded that it was her belief that Amber was a victim of domestic violence at the hands of Mr. Depp?
Here, you want to approach this?
Sidebar. The court. Yes, sir. Mr. Dennison. I understand the desire to get in the expert testimony, but that's going to come in. All she's asking about is whether she recalls certain statements. The court. What's the objection, Mr. Dennison? The objection is duplicative of, I'm sorry, it's speculative given the lack of clear foundation. The court. You can redirect her on that. That's fine. I'll allow the questions. I assume you're near the end of those questions. Ms. Bredoff. Excuse me. The court. I'm assuming you're near the end of those questions, Ms. Bredoff. Yes. It's going to be going to something different. The court. All right, I've got you. Back to open court.
And what was your answer to that last one? I'm sorry.
I think I can't recall, but I also can't recall that last question.
Do you recall that Dr. Banks concluded that Amber was a victim of domestic violence at the hands of Mr. Depp?
I don't recall that.
Okay. Now, is it your testimony under oath today that you have not been asked to testify concerning Ms. Heard's behavior in the context of her relationship with Mr. Depp, including any abuse?
That's correct.
Okay. And you have not made any determinations, including any of opinions that Ms. Heard abused Mr. Depp or Mr. Depp abused Ms. Heard, correct?
Correct. That's outside of the scope of psychology.
Okay. And you cannot testify whether Amber Heard suffered any emotional distress as a result of any of the defamatory comments that she has alleged Mr. Waldman made through Mr. Depp made through Mr. Waldman, correct?
What I can testify is that there was no indication of a decline in psychological functioning showing any injury since she's been with Mr. Depp.
You cannot testify one way or the other on that, correct? Your Honor, may we approach?
Okay.
Court. All right. Ms. Bredoff, Your Honor, she was specifically prohibited from testifying to any emotional distress related to defamation. She was trying to throw a little extra in there. Mr. Dennison, well, you asked the question directly. Ms. Bredoff, I did because I wanted to establish she can't. The court. Well, if you ask the question, though, you're saying she's banned from answering, but then you ask the question. I agree with you, Judge A. That doesn't make any sense, does it? Ms. Bredoff, all right, I will clear it up then. I think she can't. The court. She can ask you. She can if you ask her the question, though. That's the problem. Ms. Bredoff, I don't agree with that. She didn't give that opinion, indiscernible. She didn't give that in her designation, the court. But if you ask the question, she's going to answer it, Ms. Bredoff. Okay, Your Honor. Okay, I'll clear it up and then I'm done. Mr. Dennison, thank you, Your Honor. The court. Yeah. Back to open court.
Dr. Curry.
Yes.
In your report, nowhere in your report did you provide any opinion of whether Ms. Heard suffered emotional distress as a result of the defamatory statements. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, redirect.
So you're asked a question about a series of doctors. Dr. Cohen, treating physician?
Yes, he was a psychologist.
Yeah. Dr. Banks, treating physician?
Dr. Banks, yes, treating psychiatrist.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes, treating psychologist.
Every one of them had to take Amber Heard at his word, right?
Yes.
Oh, overruled.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right. Is this witness subject? Yes, sir. Is this witness subject to recall?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Since you're subject to recall, Dr. Curry, please do not discuss your testimony with anybody, and please do not watch anything of this trial, okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You can stay there for a moment.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our afternoon recess for 15 minutes. Do not do any outside research and don't talk to anybody, okay? Your next witness is by deposition, is that correct? We will get you all set up then. All right, thank you. Oh, okay. We'll come back at 3:20 before the jury comes back out. We'll discuss your exhibits, okay? All right, thank you. Sure, well,
Approach? Sure.
are they agreed on? Or?
Ms. Bredhoff, do you want us to speak? What is happening? Mr. Moniz, do you want to approach? Sure. The court. Are they agreed on? Sidebar. Mr. Moniz, so there are just a couple of general disagreements that I think once you put rulings on, that will educate us on which way the court's ruling. There are a few LAPD documents like this. The court, okay, Mr. Moniz, these are basically LAPD forms, so we're not, let me back up. Officer Sains is the next deposition. The court, right. Mr. Moniz, she was one of the officers who came. These are like LAPD forms. This is not something that was provided to Ms. Heard. This is like more like the general LAPD procedures. Our view is that given that no report was made based on this and it wasn't provided to her, it's not relevant. So we would suggest that documents like this don't come in. The other side agrees. That's kind of the first. It's really interesting because, all these things come up later again and again and again. And it's always Amber's side trying to get these same things in, because having done the end of the trial with Emily's sidebars and covering that, and then going back now to the beginning, it's just really funny because it's like up until in closing arguments even, right? Elaine is still trying to get this stuff in till the very last second. It's like the UK trial, right? That stuff. And then it's like this testimony from Officer Sains. And then I know there's others, but those two come to mind first. But there's like this whole host of things she keeps trying, and all the way through. And it's like, so now going back, it's like you get to see the very beginning of that, the first time, right? The first time. And you just really appreciate it that much more. What's the word? Audacity of it all. Okay. Mr. Moniz, she was one of the officers who came. These are like LAPD forms. I think I did that. That's kind of first. Okay. The court, were these shown to her at some point? Mr. Moniz, they were shown to her in the deposition. Those portions of the deposition testimony are coming in. We don't think the document itself is relevant since it doesn't pertain to anything that the officers actually did. The court, why would the document come in? Mr. Bredhoff, the document is because we're reading from it. The court, you can read from it. I understand that. But why does it actually come in evidence if it was never shown to her? Ms. Bredhoff, it was shown to her. Mr. Moniz, it was never provided to Ms. Heard. The court, so it was never shown to Ms. Heard, Ms. Bredhoff, because it's their policies and procedures. Mr. Moniz, these are fact witnesses. These are fact witnesses. They're not testifying about general procedures. The court, I understand. You can obviously talk about it. I guess that's in the deposition already, but it's not going to come into evidence. Ms. Bredhoff, okay. Mr. Moniz, okay, so that takes care of 758, 756. I guess that's taking care of 759. And does that take care of 757? Or do we all agree on that? The court, a lot of paper flying here. Judge A. Mr. Moniz, I'm sorry. The court, that's okay. Mr. Moniz, this one we're fine on. The court, which one is this one? Mr. Moniz, the incident report. The court, 730. Mr. Moniz, 730. So no objection to 730. Mr. Moniz, 730 can come into evidence. Yes, as far as we're concerned, I think. The court, plaintiffs. 7:30 or defendants? Mr. Moniz, defendant 7:30, Your Honor. The court, I'm just getting this for Jamie. Ms. Bredoff. The next few, I'm showing her these pictures and asking her why she sees injuries, she sees property, or whether she sees injuries, she sees property damage. The court, okay, Ms. Bredoff, they're not in yet. I don't know. I already feel like she's trying to sneak something in, sneak-a-doodle. They're not in yet because we haven't had our case. Of course, I would put this in our case after Amber, since we put everything together, but it won't make any sense to the jury. Oh, no. She's trying to sneak-a-doodle. It won't make any sense to the jury. We can show it and say, did you see an injury? The court, yep. Ms. Bredoff, do you see any damage? The court, okay. Ms. Bredoff, do you consider it part of indiscernible? And then there's more pictures. I mean, go ahead, Mr. Moniz. I would just say this is another general point, Your Honor, that this is not, the witness has no knowledge of these photographs. Man, these come up again. These are just photographs that are being flashed up. Oh, dear Lord Almighty. It's like I know where this is going. And if they only knew, like they only knew. The court, okay. Mr. Moniz, I mean, they can probably get these in. I'm sure this is just, okay. I'm sure, in their case through Ms. Heard, I don't see that it's appropriate to get these in through a witness that has no knowledge of the photographs themselves. The court, Ms. Bredoff, if the witness was here live, like testifying, and you showed her these pictures on the witness stand and she was like, I did not see it, I don't recognize these, would they come in at that point? Ms. Bredoff, no, but she didn't say, I didn't, Mr. Moniz. She wasn't even asked that question. Ms. Bredoff, no, she was asked, do you see any injuries? And again, the thing to remember is that in the time frame she's there, Mr. Chu, it's still foundation on all. It's funny. It's like everyone's kind of confused about these pictures because it's not clear yet. It's not clear until they see how it's going to get utilized. And just from what I remember, later on, it's a different argument. It becomes about the metadata, if I recall. About the metadata, and they don't really know. There's so many pictures that they try to get in that get not let in. It's hard to remember. Or I'm trying to remember which ones were the metadata, but I think this could have been. Oh, well, Chelsea, keep reading. It's still foundation on all. Mr. Moniz, and metadata is another issue. The court, I think they are going to be coming in eventually. I just don't think, what's the foundation here? Ms. Bredoff, could we put Ms. Heard on the stand outside the presence of the jury just to lay the foundation? Mr. Moniz, it doesn't lay any foundation for using it with this witness. I mean, she can put it on for her case, but Mr. Rottenborn, I think the problem is that given the court, the sequence of everything, I understand, Mr. Rottenborn, indiscernible, just one time. That makes it a little indiscernible. We were breaking it up and we were putting this part in our case, Ms. Bredoff, after we put Mr. Rottenborn, so we can indiscernible the jury to be Mr. Moniz. That does not alter the fact that there's no foundation for using these photographs with this witness. I mean, she can't define as to I apologize. I was going to say there is another issue with the metadata. The metadata testimony has been stricken out of the transcript. I mean, even if this photo were to come in, and I don't think it should, because again, the witness hasn't seen this photograph or the witness has no knowledge of the photograph. She's just being shown a series of photographs that she can't testify to. But even if that came in, this should certainly be redacted, I think, because there's no foundation or authentication of the metadata, and it was stricken out of the testimony. The court, you'd agree that eventually it's coming into evidence in this case, correct? But we know it's not. Mr. Moniz, I would presume that it will eventually come in through Ms. Heard. It doesn't. The court, redact or not redacted? I mean, it's going to be coming in. I don't think it does. Mr. Moniz, I would assume at some point it's coming in through Ms. Heard, but using it with this witness just seems inappropriate. Mr. Chu, this officer didn't see any marks. Ms. Bredoff, it's credibility. It's all credibility of showing her these pictures. No, I don't see an injury. No, I don't see it indiscernible carpeting. No, I don't see it. That's what she's saying. No, I don't see it. No, I don't see the damage. It's credibility. Credibility is huge. The court, well, I understand. And in closing arguments, I'm sure you're going to put these pictures up and say the officer didn't see anything on these pictures. Mr. Moniz, I mean, Ms. Heard can testify as to the photos. She has an expert who can opine whether or not it's an injury. They had such high hopes, didn't they? I don't see why she's using it with Mr. Rottenborn. To your point, Your Honor, that's exactly why the pictures need to come in now. Otherwise, the jury's not going to know what Officer Sands is talking about. In closing, when the officer says she didn't see anything in these pictures, they're going to have no idea, Ms. Bredoff, and they're not going to know which pictures, Mr. Moniz. They don't need that from the officer. Ms. Heard can testify to the extent she is able to testify. This picture was taken this date. This is what it looked like. This is what I looked like. I guess that's what, yeah, this is what I looked like. That's the way to get the testimony in, not by asking an officer. In the abstract, do you see an injury on this photo that you've never seen before, Mr. Rottenborn? Which we would be able to do it if we accept these after the court. But this officer is their witness coming in this their case. Ms. Bredehoft, she's our witness too, so we would have designated the testimony. We have more designated testimony than they do, Mr. Moniz. I mean, it doesn't matter who designated more testimony. It doesn't make it appropriate for this witness. Mr. Chu, she didn't see any of this. Mr. Moniz, I just don't see how you can raise that with this witness. Ms. Bredehoft, we didn't ask that question. We asked her if the court, right, but I mean, it wouldn't have come into evidence with this witness in your case. It would already have been in evidence with your client, is what they're saying. Ms. Bredehoft, that we would put it in front of us, the court. I understand, but I have to sustain your objection at this time. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. The court, but again, at closing or whenever you can bring it up. I can't do it at this time. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Moniz, thank you, Your Honor. The court, all right. Ms. Bredehoft. So the incident we talked about comes in before. Mr. Moniz, I think that's the only exhibit. The court, 7:30. Mr. Moniz, 7:30. Defendant's exhibit, 7:30. Ms. Bredehoft, are we able to put that on the screen? Mr. Moniz, we can do that for you. If I miss it, it's because I'm working over here. The court, are there redactions that need to be done on it? Mr. Moniz, I think, well, can you make sure we have that copy actually? Because I'm a little concerned. Ms. Bredehoft, I actually gave you that copy. I gave that this morning to you. Mr. Moniz, did you give that electronically? Because I don't want to be publishing something with something unredacted that should be. Ms. Bredehoft, I'm almost certain, but I'm pretty sure we can get, Mr. Moniz, is it important to play this? And I'll defer to you on this, obviously. Is it important to play this, understanding it's coming into evidence? Does it need to come into evidence during the deposition? Ms. Bredehoft, I think it would be helpful because we're talking about an incident. The court, we'll have to stop the deposition since it's not split. Mr. Moniz, understood. Can you, on the off chance that I miss it, can you just make sure to, Ms. Bredehoft, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you where it is. So it is 247 through 52. Mr. Moniz, 247 to 52. I don't have that at all. The court, okay, all right, I'm out. Ms. Bredehoft, thank you, Your Honor. Open court. We are here on day 11. It is the morning housekeeping scenario. The bailiff, all rise. Please be seated and come to order.
All rise. Circuit Court of Fairfax County is now in session. The Honorable Penny Escarati presiding.
Good morning, Judy. All right, good morning. Good morning. All right, do we have any preliminary matters before? Okay. Sure.
The court. Do we have any preliminary matters before? Ms. Bredehoft, we do, Your Honor. May we approach the court? Sure. Sidebar, the court. All right, Ms. Bredehoft, I realized when we were moving the admission of the Sains exhibits yesterday, the court, okay, Ms. Bredehoft, that we didn't put the actual exhibit numbers, so I wanted to put those on the record. The court, sure. Ms. Bredehoft, defendants 428, the court, 428, got it. Ms. Bredehoft, defendants 1650, the court, 1650, all right. Ms. Bredehoft, defendants 315, court, 315, okay. Ms. Bredehoft, defendants 758, the court, 758, no particular order, huh? Ms. Bredehoft, sorry about that. 756, the court, 756. Ms. Bredehoft, 757, I'm getting a little bit better. The court, 757, although these are probably going to be coming in later. Ms. Bredehoft, yes, the court, okay. Ms. Bredehoft, 759, the court, 759. Ms. Bredehoft, then 730 came in, the court, got that. I do need the one with redactions. Ms. Bredehoft, it was redacted. The court, I need a copy. Ms. Bredehoft, it's not redacted on Your Honor's copy. The court, we'll check. Because I saw redactions, we'll check. Ms. Bredehoft, and then we had some confusion yesterday, but defendant's 686, which is also plaintiff's 325, wasn't played. It was the building security video footage, but I think there was just confusion if it was supposed to be played. Yes, there was a lot of confusion yesterday, I will say. The court, okay. Ms. Bredehoft, so the court, okay, 686. Ms. Bredehoft, defendant 686. The court, you want it in evidence? I think it was already in. Ms. Liquorose, I think it might be, the court, 686. Ms. Bredehoft, it might be plaintiff's 325. I don't have 325 in evidence. So which one do you want evidence? Ms. Bredehoft, let's go with defendant 686 then, Your Honor. The court, there's no objection to 686. Ms. Liquorose, no, Your Honor. Mr. Chu, no. The court, 680, actually 680 through 688 were in evidence. Ms. Bredehoft, yeah, it was a video question. The court, okay. Ms. Bredehoft, and then the ones that are pictures, Your Honor, And those would also be subject to also coming back in potentially. 7:15. The court, 7:15. Ms. Bredhoft, 7:07. The court, 7:07. Ms. Bredhoft, 7:17. The court, 7:17. Ms. Bredhoft, 7:08. The court, 7:08. Ms. Bredhoft. Oh, wait, back up. 7:17 and 7:16. The court, 7:16. Okay. Ms. Bredhoft. And 7:09. The court, 7:09. And they list a bunch of more numbers here. Numbers, going in a row. Okay. The court. Okay. Ms. Bredhoft. And I think that's all. And then Haddon would have some of the identical ones. I'm assuming Your Honor is going to still rule that we can put the pictures in front of him. The court. Okay. Ms. Bredhoft. But 7:30 is in. I've spoken with people already on that. And then, so for Haddon, it's 7:15, 7:07, 7:17, 7:09, 7:10, 7:11, 7:12, and 7:13. The court, okay, Ms. Bredhoft. And then we're trying to work on Officer Gatlin. The court, so Haddon's first today. All right, so we're good with that? Mr. Chu, yes. Thank you, Your Honor. The court, thank you. Open court.
All right, are we ready for the jury then? Yes, sir. Okay. Which evidence do we have? Yeah, okay.
Okay, so this is after the morning break. The bailiff all rise. Please be seated and come to order. The court, all right. So on the next deposition, which evidence do we have? Ms. Bredhoft, may we approach the court? Okay. Sidebar. Ms. Bredhoft, I think we are in agreement, Your Honor, but we need to move for the admission. The court, okay. Which ones are they? Ms. Liquorose, plaintiffs 200 and 201. The court, plaintiffs 200 and 201. Ms. Bredhoft, I think the defendants' ones are already in if you want to use those. 727 and 728. It doesn't matter. Court. Is it okay if I have Jamie come over here? Are we in agreement or not? Ms. Liquorose. I haven't confirmed they're the same. The court. So plaintiffs 200 is in evidence and plaintiffs 201 is in evidence. Ms. Liquorose. Yes. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bredhoft. And then defendants, we have a question with that. The court. Okay. Ms. Bredhoft. 1246 with redactions. We have the redactions there up on the screen. The court. Okay. So 1246 with redactions. So we need redactions. So that's in evidence. Okay. Ms. Bredhoft. And then defendants 1593. The court. 1593. Does that need redactions? Ms. Bredhoft. No. The court. All right. That's in evidence. Ms. Bredhoft. Defendants 1594. The court. 1594 in evidence. Okay. All right. So that takes care of that deposition. Ms. Bredhoft. Yes. Who's the next deposition? That's okay. Romero. Mr. Rottenborn. Just a few that we have for the court. This is from Mr. Depp. 195. Both sides agree the whole thing can come in. The court. Okay. Perfect. And that's defendants 195. Plaintiffs. Defendants 272 and defendants 195. Ms. Bredhoft. Yep. The court. Do you want to come a little closer for the court reporter just so we can get it on the record? Ms. Vasquez, yes, of course. The court, you're welcome, Junie. Ms. Vasquez, we have 784. Well, actually, I don't know which one this is. Oh, sorry, it's Depp 120. The court, okay, plaintiffs 120. Ms. Vasquez, redacted. The court, I should have a C in it. Ms. Vasquez, 0004 maybe. The court, 120. I have C, 4, and 5. There should be a C. Yeah, 4 and 5. Ms. Vasquez, yeah. The court, okay, got it. Ms. Vasquez, the next one is plaintiffs 120, 0040. The court, yeah, that's 120B. Ms. Vasquez, correct. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, and then plaintiffs 804 redacted. First page is taken off. The court. 04, 804, everything except the first page, right? Ms. Vasquez, and then the signatures redacted. The court. 804, is it 804? Yes, the first page, then the signatures. I don't know why I don't have 8, but we'll figure it out. Next one, is that it? Ms. Vasquez, that's it. The court, all right, thank you. Ms. Bredhoft. Romero, we have 666, which is already in. The court. That's already in, so we're good. Ms. Vasquez, that should take us right up until about 12 something, 12:30, maybe 12:40. The court. Those are two. What's going to happen after, Ms. Vasquez? Then we have Carino and Wasser, which we need somebody to talk about. So I don't know if you want to take an early lunch at that time. The court. Is that what you would like to do? Take an early lunch, Ms. Vasquez? I think so. The court. Okay, Ms. Vasquez, and then we'll be done for the rest of the day with exhibits. The court. So after these two, you want to take an early lunch around 12:15 to 1:15. Ms. Vasquez, probably 12:30 to 12:40. Court. Want to take it all the way to 2 for the jury so they can, but I can come back a little earlier and work through exhibits. Ms. Vasquez, we'll work that out. The court. You work that out over lunch and we'll have that all set. Ms. Vasquez. And then Carino, Wasser, Doherty. The court. Say that again. Ms. Vasquez, Carino, Romero. The court. Romero. A lot of O's. Ms. Vasquez and Doherty. The court. And that will take us through the day. Ms. Liquorose. Romero is going before lunch. Wasser will go up where she just said Romero. The court. Wasser, then Doherty, which may go to the end of the day or maybe into tomorrow. Ms. Bredhoft. I thought it was Gatlin, Romero, Carino. Ms. Liquorose. That's what we just said. Carino, then Wasser, then Doherty. I'm confused. Are they getting, are they swapping first and last names? What is happening here? The court. I didn't hear Gatlin, though. Ms. Liquorose. Gatlin, next one. The court. Tomorrow, I have to take lunch between 1:30 and 2:20 tomorrow, so I don't know if you have remote witnesses or depositions, Ms. Vasquez, we have a number of remote witnesses, the court. So you can let them know lunch will be between 1:30 and 2:30. But if I can figure out remote witnesses today from you, then we can get those. But probably just do one WebEx for the whole day, and then I'll let them in. I can just let them in through the Ms. Bredhoft. For timing purposes, when do you think you're going to be done? Ms. Vasquez, we'll know tomorrow. The court, no tomorrow? No, Ms. Vasquez, we'll know tomorrow. Ms. Bredhoft, I'm trying to figure out for next week. The court, I know, I appreciate it. Ms. Vasquez, we'll have some indication tomorrow after court if we can meet with Your Honor for 10 minutes to discuss timing. Mr. Chu, and rebuttal. Ms. Vasquez, and rebuttal. And things like that. The court, well, you know your timing, Mr. Chu. Yeah, we understand. The court, you've got a Ms. Vasquez, and we're keeping track. Thank you. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. The court, thank you. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bredhoft, thank you. Everyone's thanking everybody, and we are back to open court.
All right. Are we ready for the jury then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is there anything preliminary before we get to the next deposition? You'll work through them, and then if I come back at 2, we should be able to take care of it pretty quickly?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Your Honor.
All right, great. We'll come back at 2 then. Thank you.
Okay, so this looks like it's just after lunch. The bailiff, all rise. Please be seated and come to order. The court, are we ready for the jury? That's right. Your exhibits, that's fine. Yes. Sidebar. Ms. Bredhoft, which one are we doing first? Are we doing Carino first? Ms. Liquorose, do you want to do Wasser first? The court, okay. Ms. Bredhoft, we'll start with Wasser, Your Honor. The court, all right, Wasser, okay. Ms. Liquorose, so we have an agreement on moving in defendant 782. The court, 782 defendants. Okay, all right. 782 in evidence. Ms. Liquorose, and then we have a dispute on plaintiff 618. The court, 618. All right. What's 618? Give me a little background about deposition. Ms. Liquorose, this is Laura Wasser. She's a divorce attorney. The court, divorce attorney. Ms. Liquorose, and 618 is the judgment for the party's divorce. The court, okay. Ms. Liquorose, I understand there's an objection on relevance and hearsay grounds. Ms. Bredhoft, correct. The court, so why are you getting the judgment of the divorce, and what's the relevance of this? Ms. Liquorose, the relevance is that it includes a provision that dismisses the restraining order allegations that were filed, so it goes to, the sort of resolution of that issue. The court, I think she testifies to that. Does she say that it was dismissed? Ms. Liquorose, who? Ms. Heard? The court, no, Ms. Wasser in the deposition. Ms. Liquorose, yeah, I believe so. The court, okay, I remember reading that, Ms. Liquorose, and so otherwise it goes to generally sort of the resolution of the court also stating the objection that she can testify to it, but it doesn't come into evidence, okay? Ms. Bredhoft. And then I have this one, defendant's exhibit 1455. The court, defendant's 1455, right, doing this the old-fashioned way. Ms. Liquorose, we may need one of my colleagues on this one. There are a few objections. Relevance, hearsay, and with this particular witness, a lack of foundation. The court, okay. Ms. Liquorose, this is an email exchange that doesn't include Ms. Wasser in any way, shape, or form. The court, okay. Ms. Bredhoft, yeah, and it's true. It would otherwise come into, the court, there's no battle, not a big fight here, Ms. Bredhoft. I understand, Ms. Bredhoft. I think instead we can argue it with Carino. The court, okay, I'll sustain the objection to it. That's it for Wasser. Ms. Liquorose, that's it for Wasser. Yeah, the court, okay. Then you have Carino. Ms. Bredhoft, yeah, we have different lawyers on this side. The court, okay. Ms. Bredhoft, so I'll just come back up. I'll go grab my stuff and come back up. The court, okay, gotcha. Sure, this is Doherty, right? Ms. Bredhoft, no, this is Carino. Ms. Vasquez, Carino, Christian Carino. Ms. Bredhoft, I'm having trouble keeping up too, Your Honor. Oh, Lane. The court, Carino, okay. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, if I may use my computer, the court, that's fine. Who is Carino again? Ms. Vasquez, a friend of both Depp and Ms. Heard, and he served as an agent for Mr. Depp. The court, okay. Ms. Bredhoft, he was actually Ms. Heard's agent first, and Ms. Vasquez, and then Ms. Bredhoft, and then he turned into Mr. Depp's agent. Oh, I remember this dude. The court, Depp's agent, Ms. Bredhoft, and he was the person who brokered a mediation between them while they were getting a divorce. The court, all right, okay, all right. So which deposition are we looking at? Ms. Vasquez. So first one, Your Honor, well, the first is Plaintiff's Exhibit 1. That's already been admitted. It's the op-ed. The court, no objection. Ms. Bredhoft, great. That's already admitted. Ms. Vasquez, no issue there. So the next one that we have a disagreement about is 571. Plaintiff's 571. Court, 571. Okay. Ms. Vasquez, and if you'll indulge me, beg the court's indulgence, as they would say in Murdoch land. Your Honor, I'm sorry, I didn't have these printed, but they are text messages between Christian Carino and Amber. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, and we're happy to redact Mr. Carino's text messages. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, if counsel would prefer, but these are clearly text messages between Ms. Heard, produced by Ms. Heard, and we are offering them, so it's therefore not hearsay. Ms. Bredhoft, relevance, and then hearsay. But it's not yours. The court, what do they say? Relevance, Mr. Vasquez, it's scheduling the meetings that Ms. Spreadhoff just cited between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard after the TRO. The court, okay, why is that relevant? Ms. Vasquez, because she asked him to set up the meeting after she had the TRO entered against him to breach the temporary restraining order. The court, all right, I see, Ms. Vasquez, to meet with him. Ms. Spreadhoff, they testified to that. The court, I'll overrule the objection. It's all right, Ms. Vasquez. The next one. The court, did you want the other text redacted from him? Ms. Spreadhoff, can you enlarge it? Ms. Vasquez, sorry. The court, no, I understand. I've got some readers if you need them. Ms. Spreadhoff, and I should have brought my glasses. So Elaine is even more of a mess than usual today. It's like she's she's got her stuff all over the place, and she can't count numbers correctly in order, and she forgot her glasses, and God only knows what else. Ms. Vasquez, it's 571. Plaintiff's 571. So, Ms. Spreadhoff, so most of this, Ms. Vasquez, based on my indiscernible, please let me know Johnny's travel schedule. She's already overruled the objection. Ms. Spreadhoff, yeah, I got you. So I'm just making sure the whole thing is coming in. The court, right. That's what I'm asking you. If they can redact his text and just have her text, or do you want to have the context? Ms. Spreadhoff, okay, all right, we'll leave it in. Ms. Vasquez, you're fine with Mr. Carino's messages? Ms. Spreadhoff, yeah. The court, okay, 571 comes in without redactions. Ms. Spreadhoff, well, identifiers. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. The next one, Your Honor, these are produced by Mr. Carino. He authenticates them on the transcript. It has his Bates stamp CC. They have unknown contacts, unfortunately, above. The court, okay. These are texts from him, Ms. Vasquez, text messages between Mr. Carino and Ms. Heard, again, talking about the meeting and her expressing her love for Mr. Depp. So she's in gray and he's in blue, and that is all authenticated in this transcript. The court, okay, what number is this? Ms. Vasquez, I'm sorry, 576. The court, 576. Ms. Vasquez, plaintiff's 576. Again, I'm happy to redact Mr. Carino's messages, but again, this was Ms. Heard. She authenticates them in the transcript. Ms. Spreadhoff, can you scroll up? Ms. Vasquez, sure. Ms. Spreadhoff, I don't think these are a later date. I've got a relevance objection and foundation because she doesn't. Ms. Vasquez, this is 16. Ms. Spreadhoff, 2017. It's a year later. The court, so why is this relevant? Ms. Vasquez, it's relevant because Ms. Heard is continuing to talk about how she wants to reach out to Mr. Depp again, despite the divorce and the court, but the TRO is not in place anymore then? Ms. Spreadhoff, no, it's not. Ms. Vasquez, but that fact that she's still trying to reach out to him to try to get back together with him, the court, I'll sustain the objection to 576. Ms. Vasquez, the next one I have, Your Honor, is 577. The court, 577. Ms. Vasquez, date on these also 2017. So based on Your Honor's prior ruling, the court, okay, I'll sustain the objection. Ms. Vasquez, I assume you're sustaining the objection on relevance, and then 578 is the last one. Again, 2018, asking the court, I'll sustain the objection to 578. Okay, anything else for Mr. Carino? Ms. Vasquez, anything for you? Ms. Spreadhoff, you also said 179. Not like I'm helping you, but... Ms. Vasquez, okay, thank you, Ms. Spreadhoff. What would she ever do without you, Elaine? Ms. Spreadhoff, and then, with Mr. Carino, then I was going to give it a shot here. The court, give it a shot. Still sustained, but thank you. I think we've got everything else, and all these depositions are like in a regular place, like we're not at a circus or smoking cigars or anything else. Mr. Moniz, as far as we know. The court, okay, please let me know ahead of time for that. Ms. Vasquez, I think, okay, thank you, appreciate it. All right, thank you. Ms. Spreadhoff, we have one more. We have Doherty. The court, okay, what's your, Ms. Spreadhoff, Doherty is after this. The court, thank you, okay. Ms. Vasquez, so we'll get you that exhibit, Your Honor. The court, okay, thank you. We're doing these exhibits now on Friday, so we want to do this after. This might be our last set of depositions that we have to do like this. Okay, Doherty. And Dorothy, I'm assuming it's supposed to say Doherty again, and Doherty is, Ms. Myers, this is the corporate representative of the ACLU. Oh boy. The court, okay, ACLU corporate representative. Got it. Ms. Myers, so first is the op-ed, which is already in. The court, already in. Okay. Ms. Myers, so we don't have to discuss that, Ms. Spreadhoff, because we don't need to show this. I'm just objecting to all these on hearsay because they're email exchanges. The court, you're withdrawing that one? Ms. Myers, we're withdrawing this. The court, what number, just for the record? Ms. Myers, it's Plaintiff's Exhibit 6. The court, 6, you're withdrawing. Okay. Ms. Spreadhoff, I don't have an objection to Plaintiff 7. The court, 7 is in. Does it need to be redacted? Ms. Myers, identifiers. Ms. Spreadhoff, identifiers. Court, identifiers. You'll get that for me, okay? 7 is in with identifiers. Okay. Plaintiffs, Ms. Myers. So Exhibit 11, Your Honor, here I have a copy for you. The court, okay. Ms. Myers, it doesn't have the redactions. The court, I gotcha. Ms. Myers, the top email is from Ms. Heard. I don't think there's a hearsay objection there. We would just like the bottom email included for context. The court, any objection to the bottom email? Ms. Spreadhoff, yeah, actually, I do, for hearsay, but also relevance. The court, to the top one? Ms. Spreadhoff, yeah, and it contains some hearsay as well. Ms. Myers, I'm just asking the question about where they can, quote, Can you point me in the right direction to get a statement out? End quote. And this is Ms. Hurd responding to that inquiry. The court, okay, so what is the relevance of her responding, Ms. Myers? Her response is she's commenting about her concern about the publicity regarding the donations. Ms. Bredehoft, why is that relevant? Ms. Myers, well, this portion of this deposition has already been admitted, so the court, all right, I'll allow it, not this bottom part. You don't want the bottom part coming in, is that correct, Ms. Bredehoft? Ms. Bredehoft, right. Ms. Myers, I think it's necessary just for the context of what she's responding to. And I don't think there's any statements of fact. The court, isn't it testified? He testifies to it, doesn't he? Ms. Bredehoft, he testified to a lot of that, yeah. But yeah, he does testify to it. The court, he testifies to it, so I think that's fine. Ms. Bredehoft, and then we have to redact the identifiers as well. Ms. Myers, yes, got it. 11 with the redactions. Okay. Ms. Bredehoft, and then go ahead. This one I think we can withdraw. The court, what number? Ms. Myers, I'm sorry, this is Plaintiff's Exhibit 13. Court, 13 withdrawn. Okay. Ms. Myers, this is Plaintiff's Exhibit 14, Your Honor, and I would just note that they're commenting about what Ms. Hurd told them with respect to the op-ed, and I believe that the contents of this email are in the admitted testimony from Mr. Doherty already. Ms. Bredehoft, hearsay, Your Honor. Court, all right, I'll sustain the objections to this. Ms. Myers, okay, so I'm just going to come in. The court, okay, I know, that's fine. All right, Ms. Myers, Your Honor, this is communications including Ms. Hurd about editing the op-ed, and so the court, this is Exhibit 16. Ms. Myers, yes, this isn't being offered for the truth of the contents, but just to reflect how the op-ed was edited. Ms. Bredehoft, I don't think it's relevant, and it's also hearsay, Your Honor. This is not the court. How it was edited, how is that not the truth of it? I'm just trying to figure it out. Ms. Myers, so there's not really statements of fact that we're offering for the truth, just showing how the op-ed was changed. We would, so to the extent there's emails where they said the court right, Ms. Myers make comments. Other than that, I think we'd be willing to redact it. But where they're talking about revisions made to the op-ed, I think that's relevant to the court. And where is that at? I just want to make sure I'm reading what you want to put in, Ms. Myers. In particular, this email here. The court, on December 11th, Ms. Myers, yes. The court, okay, Ms. Myers. And it's also talking about what Amber would like to do. And this is talking what language they're trying to put back into the op-ed, which ultimately did end up in the op-ed. Ms. Bredehoft, still hearsay, Your Honor, and relevance, because the only thing that's at issue in this case is what ultimately was published and whether that was defamatory. Ms. Myers, right. And this is the statement that was ultimately published, and Ms. Hurd supposedly asking to be included in the op-ed. Ms. Bredehoft, well, we already have the op-ed, the court, but I mean, that's for the truth of the matter asserted. Then it is hearsay, correct? Ms. Myers, well, it's reflecting that Ms. Hurd wanted this statement in there, and so that's the court, but it's not a statement for her, so I'm just going to sustain the objection. Okay, that's number 16. All right, next one. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, this is them pitching the op-ed to the Washington Post, and it's not so much the part we're interested in is they say, quote, this is a piece by Amber Hurd, who you may recall was beaten up back during her marriage with Johnny Depp, end quote. It's not for the truth of that, obviously, it's for the fact that that's how they were pitching the op-ed to the Washington Post. The court, I'll sustain the objection. What number is that? Ms. Bredehoft, 17, plaintiff 17, the court, 17, thank you. Ms. Myers, I would just point out these are all read in the court. I understand that's why I don't, but I don't think you already have them in there. I don't think you get the hard copy too, Ms. Myers. Yeah. My one concern, I don't want to backtrack, is just that on the one where they're saying she wants that piece back in, the court, right, Ms. Myers, this part is read in, but the actual piece is reflected in the document. The court, okay, Ms. Myers, and it's the statement that's in the op-ed. That is the subject of this action. The court, all right, Ms. Bredehoft, still hearsay, Your Honor. The court, all right, next one, Ms. Myers. This one, Your Honor, this is I think present, so it says present tense, it's supposed to be present sense. Present sense impression of how they understood the op-ed coverage of the op-ed after it was published, Ms. Bredehoft. And it's hearsay, Your Honor. Amber's not even, the court, Amber said, Ms. Myers, they're making a comment that the coverage is referencing Mr. Depp. The court, okay, so this is how it came out, Ms. Myers, yeah. So this is USA covering the op-ed, and their comment is, quote, so much for not mentioning JD, end quote. So it's a present sense impression of this article covering the op-ed. Ms. Bredehoft, it's offered to prove the truth of the matter, so the court, 21, I'll sustain the objection. All right, next one. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, I think this is the same, and I would again argue that it's a present sense impression. The court, kind of amazing. They just grabbed the entire op-ed and rewrote it using Ms. Bredehoft. Again, this is somebody from the ACLU writing, but Amber's not part of it. It's still hearsay. The court, all right, I can't remember the definition. They say that they just heard about it, or is this coming over, or is this later? A present sense impression has to be, Ms. Myers, this is the day they sent the article, and then the response is that same day. So it circulated internally at the ACLU. The court, I'll sustain the objection. 22 is out. Ms. Myers, Your Honor, this is the pledge, oh dear, the pledge form that was provided to Ms. Hurd. The court, okay, Ms. Myers, it's just a cover letter, but the pledge form, that's the unsigned pledge form that they provided to Ms. Heard, Mr. Dougherty establishes that. The court, all right, any objection to the pledge form? You don't want the top letter? Ms. Bredoff, actually, I have no objection to the top letter. I do have an objection to the pledge form. Shocker. Because of foundation, relevance, and hearsay. Just throw that hearsay and just throw it on in. Ms. Myers, well, the foundation was laid. The court in deposition. Okay, I'll allow 23. Yes. That's me saying yes. It's not in the transcript. Does it need to have redactions, or can I take the 23 I have? Ms. Bredoff, I don't think it has identifiers. Ms. Myers, I don't believe this has identifiers. Ms. Bredoff, it has a telephone number. The court, well, it has a phone number. That's the phone number of Greenberg, Glusker Fields, somebody. So we'll take a look at it because it looks like everything's fine on it. But take a look, and if you see anything on it that you want, I'll keep it open for redactions just in case, okay? Ms. Myers. And then this is, Your Honor, this is internal communications concerning the donations. The court, okay. Ms. Myers, I think the key portion that we would like in is the court, just the second page. Ms. Myers, well, and their understanding about the contents of that. I think this is a business record. The court, all right. For the record, this is Exhibit 24, Ms. Bredoff. So there's a lot of this I have objections to, Your Honor. I don't have a problem with the court. I think that's what they want, is just the Ms. Bredoff. Yeah, if they want to just redact everything except for that particular section, the court, I think they probably want the two above it, but I don't know. Are you okay with this? Ms. Myers, that's Ms. Bredoff. That's hearsay. That's hearsay. And it's in fact talking about, Ms. Myers, these are communications internally about the contents of this and where this information came from. Oh, Ms. Bredoff, it's got Elon laced in here. They have me laced in here. You know, if they're offering it to prove their records and what they have for the donations, that's fine. But the middle section, there's no reason for them to have the other parts of this. Ms. Myers, the other portions, I believe, are, Ms. Bredoff, there's even an email from me in there. Cora, I understand. So which parts would you want other than just that middle part? Ms. Myers, I would like up through here, Your Honor, because it's providing an explanation for what's reflected in here. And then, Ms. Bredoff, that's hearsay, Your Honor, and it's not relevant. They're trying to inject Elon into this. I think what she means is she's trying to save her own butt here. Ms. Myers, it's under, there was a business records foundation laid. The court, well, I understand it's a business record foundation, but just the email itself is still hearsay. So is there an exception to hearsay you've got for me? Ms. Bredoff, and relevance for the rest of it. And prejudice. There it is. They're trying to inject me in here. Yeah. They're trying to inject Elon in here. See, now he's an afterthought. The court, how much she's giving, Ms. Bredoff, what are they offering them for? Ms. Myers, I mean, most of these are actually inquiries about Ms. Heard. The court, I'll sustain as to hearsay, but if you want to agree that's the part you want to put in, that's fine, Ms. Bredoff. So this section right here, the court, this section in the middle of page 2, that's Exhibit 24 with redactions, okay? Ms. Bredoff, and then the identifiers, because there's identifiers in that too, so just this section, right? Ms. Vasquez, yeah, Ms. Bredoff, okay. The court, all right, what else we got? Ms. Myers. Then this last one is communications about a statement concerning Ms. Heard. The court, this is Exhibit 25, Ms. Myers, yes, and this is really Ms. Bredoff. That's hearsay, Your Honor, and relevance. It's just like a automatic thing. Ms. Myers, this is reflecting that the comment about the donations is not accurate. So it's not, the statements themselves are not being offered for the truth. The court, what's the relevance? Ms. Myers, internal communications about the donation. The court, what's the relevance of it? Ms. Myers, this goes to the fact that Ms. Heard did not complete the donation that she said she would. The court, he testified to that, right? I'll sustain the objection 25, Ms. Vasquez, okay? The court, all right. Do you have any, Ms. Myers? And then this last one, wait, I thought, wasn't it, hold on, and then this last one, the court, you said this was the last one. Ms. Bredoff, she did, Your Honor, yup, I was there, she said it. The court, I can have Judy read it back. Ms. Myers, this is truly the last one. The court, okay, Ms. Myers, and I believe this one is a business record. This was pulled from their system, and Mr. Dougherty testifies to that. It's just the portion reflecting her. The court, okay, any objections or redaction? Ms. Bredoff, no. Just messy, but I guess the court, okay, 27's in. Ms. Myers, is it redacted? The court, it's already redacted to what you need, right? Ms. Myers, yes, I believe so. They had only provided that. The court, all right, do you have any other ones, or is that it? Ms. Bredoff, no. I decided all of mine were hearsay. The court, okay, good. Thank you for helping me. Have a good day. All right, thank you. Thanks for playing. Judge A. Judge A for the win. Ms. Bredoff, no problem. Ms. Myers, I'm sorry there were so many. The court, that's okay, Ms. Myers. I appreciate it. I'm just glad we got them all done. That helps. And back to open court.
Are we ready for the jury? Okay. We are, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, so this is after the afternoon recess. The court ready for the jury? Ms. Bredoff, one moment, please. The court, okay, sure. Sidebar. Ms. Bredoff, I made a mistake in Dougherty. I did have one exhibit that I wanted to admit. The court, okay. Which objection? Ms. Liquorose, I'm not sure actually, Your Honor. She just handed this to us, the court. All right, you can look at it. It's Exhibit 1639 for the defendants. Ms. Liquorose, I need the text. I don't know that we're going to get to Doherty today, the court. But if you want to take a look at it, though, that's fine, Ms. Vasquez. I think Mr. White's going to testify in person, the court. Okay, Ms. Vasquez, so I think that to the extent, Ms. Bredoff, this is a business record, Ms. Vasquez, of Mr. White. Ms. Bredoff, and they did tell you he sent this to you and Mr. Doherty testified to it as an exhibit in there. I just missed it when I was flipping through. Ms. Vasquez, no, we're going to maintain our objections. Unfair prejudice, hearsay, lack of authentication. This is a communication from Mr. White, who's Mr. Depp's business manager, to the ACLU. Court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, and like I just said, Mr. White will be testifying in person. Mr. Chu, live. Court, live. Mr. Chu, tomorrow. Ms. Bredoff, still a business records exception, Your Honor. Court, I'm going to sustain the objection. Mr. Chu, thank you. Ms. Bredoff, so we should just do it tomorrow with Mr. White? The court, yeah, I'll keep it open because that sounds like we're not going to have any problems getting to the witness. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. Back to open court.
Okay, let's get to chair.
Okay, so this is day 12. We have here Mr. White on direct examination.
Did he appear impaired to you in any way?
No, to the contrary, I found him to be...
I'm sorry, sir, there was an objection. All right, what was the objection? I'm sorry. Leading?
Just I asked him for his observation as to impairment.
Well, if you want to ask different, I'll sustain that objection, but you can ask another question.
Did you make any observations as to Mr. Depp's potential impairment?
It was readily apparent to me that he was actively involved in the conversation. He asked very thoughtful and prudent questions. He was genuinely interested, and once again, when he left, he thanked me profusely for not only addressing the issues, but formulating a strategy and plan to resolve them in a successful manner.
Did you play any role on Mr. Depp's behalf with respect to the dissolution of his marriage to Ms. Heard?
Yes, I was actively involved in the negotiations of the separation and the marriage dissolve.
What role did you play in those negotiations?
Well, in my capacity as his business manager, I understood his financial capacity and the tax implications associated with it. So I was actively involved in addressing those issues as they were forthcoming from counsel.
You mentioned tax implications. What are you talking about there?
Excuse me?
I think you just mentioned tax implications. What are you talking about there?
Well, what I was talking about is that when Ms. Heard began the negotiations, she was asking for approximately $4 million. That
Objection,
balance
Your Honor.
then was
Foundation,
increased.
Hearsay, lack of foundation, hearsay.
These are requests made by Ms. Heard and her counsel in a conversation, in communications.
Here, you want to approach for a minute.
Certainly.
Sidebar. Mr. Rottenborn. Foundation, he wasn't involved in these conversations. He hasn't established that he was. Mr. Dennison. He just testified that, Mr. Rottenborn, he's actively involved, but he's not actively involved in talking to Ms. Heard, the court. Did Ms. Heard tell him that? Did Ms. Heard tell him that, I guess, is the question. Mr. Dennison, no. Ms. Heard negotiated these things through agents, lawyers, and he dealt with their lawyers. The court, I understand, but I mean, if he didn't get it directly from her, then I'll sustain the objection. Mr. Dennison, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear what you said. The court, I'm sorry, if he didn't get that directly from Ms. Heard, then I'll sustain. Mr. Dennison, even though the lawyers were involved, the court, because he's not a lawyer, I mean, you can get into his understanding, but not quotes of what she said. Mr. Dennison, okay, I understand. The court, okay, open court.
As a result of your involvement on behalf of Mr. Depp in the negotiation, what was your understanding of what Ms. Heard was looking for?
She initially was looking for a consideration of $4 million, but her demand continually increased. It went from $4 million to $5 million. Then it went from $5 million to $5.5 million. Then it went to $7 million. And then it was $7 million, and she demanded that Mr. Depp also pay $500,000 to her attorneys. Then, after that consideration, she also said that all the community liabilities that were accumulated during the course of the marriage, which approximated $13.5 million.
Sorry, there's an objection, sir. Whenever there's an objection, I'm sorry. If you can't hear it, I'll let you know. okay?
Thank you, Your
Yeah, no
This
problem,
just
sir.
goes into his allegations of what she said, which Your Honor just instructed, sustain the objection on that. He has no foundation to suggest that, no knowledge of that.
Your Honor, I understand that. I asked his understanding.
All right, I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
May I continue?
She'll tell you yes.
Yes. Go ahead, yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
He learns very well.
So at that point, she was demanding $14,250,000 of consideration, and then it got worse. The next demand was that all of this consideration be paid to her free of taxation. And counselor, for him to pay $14,250,000 to Miss Heard, that would require him to earn approximately
Objection, Your Honor.
$30 million.
This is so far beyond the scope, so far beyond his foundation of what was discussed.
All right, I'll sustain that last answer. All right. Next question.
Did you make a proposal as to how payments would be made to Miss Heard?
Yes, I did, and they were initially contemplated to be paid directly to the charities, the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, for the benefit of the children who required severe medical service, and to the ACLU. During the course of the negotiations, one of the demands, because the contract changed, was that the payments be made directly to Miss Heard.
Did you continue making payments to either of those charities on Ms. Heard's behalf?
No, in fact, I was chastised for making the payments by Miss Heard's counsel and told that the payments in the future had to go
Objection, Your
directly
Honor.
to her.
This is clear hearsay. He's not answering the question. I would ask for you to instruct him to answer the question and not expound upon his.
I'll sustain as to hearsay. Next question.
What role did you play with respect to the payments ultimately made to Ms. Heard?
We supplied the payments to Ms. Heard in accordance with the agreement, either on or before the date in which they were required to be paid. Therefore, in 2017, she was paid $4.5 million directly paid to her. Then on February 1 of 2018, she was paid the final installment of $2.3 million for total payments that went directly to Ms. Heard of $6.8 million.
Do you know when this lawsuit was filed?
Yes, it was filed in March 1, 2019.
Okay. Were the payments that were made on Mr. Depp's behalf directly to Ms. Heard the only economic benefit she received?
Objection leading.
I haven't heard the. Go. I'll overrule the objection for us now. Go ahead.
Were the payments made on to Ms. Heard the only economic benefits that she received from the settlement agreement?
No. The money that was paid directly to her, the money that was paid to her, to the charities on her behalf, the money that was paid to her attorneys, and the relief of all these liabilities that he had to satisfy. That's why I said to you, Counselor, that the total consideration paid to her was $14,250,000, and she demanded that that payment be made free of taxation, that Mr. Depp would have to satisfy all the tax liabilities.
Are you familiar with an entity known as 2020 Wine Merchants?
Yes, I am.
Why are you familiar with it?
It's a prominent purveyor of wine in Los
Objection,
Angeles,
Your Honor.
California.
Foundation, hearsay.
I don't see the hearsay, but I don't.
Foundation at this point.
Can we
Sure. Sure.
Sidebar. Court. All right. Mr. Rottenborn, what's the relevance? The court. Relevance, not the objection. It's foundation. I assume that's what you're laying, right? Mr. Dennison, I'm laying a foundation. He's going to tell you he paid the wine person. The court. What's the relevance? Mr. Dennison, there's some evidence in this case, a suggestion in this case that Mr. Depp was going through $30,000 a month in wine, and the court. Okay. Mr. Dennison, and direct evidence of that's on Mr. Rottenborn. That's evidence from the court. That's all right. I'll overrule the objection. Mr. Dennison, thank you. The court. That's fine. Back to open court.
All right. I think where we left off is I asked you, how were you familiar with 2020 Wine Merchants? And if that's not what I asked you, that's what I'm asking you now.
2020 is a highly recognized purveyor of wine in Los Angeles, along with other companies.
What involvement, if any, did you have with 2020?
I satisfied the liabilities that Mr. Depp incurred, which at the dissolve of their marriage was approximately $160,000.
Do you continue to pay Mr. Depp's wine bill?
Yes, I do. We pay all of his obligations, but his wine bill has shrunk to virtually zero because he does not consume that much in the way of wine. He's made a few gifts around Christmas time, but his wine bill has gone to virtually zero.
Cross-examination.
Good afternoon, Mr. White.
Good afternoon, Counselor.
Your firm has been paid millions of dollars by Mr. Depp and his companies since you were first retained in 2016, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, you're being paid for the time that you're sitting on that witness stand today, aren't you?
No.
Well, you charged the time that you spent in connection with legal proceedings in this case, correct?
That's correct, but I charge for my time.
Yeah.
And it's the same time.
You answer my
I would
question, sir. In
charge-
fact, you charge $710 an hour for your time, don't you?
Counselor, if you'll let me complete my answer, I'll be happy to respond.
Sir, please try to stick to the question that I'm asking you. You've had your chance to go well beyond the question being asked, but if you could just please stick to the question I'm asking you, it would go a lot faster.
I don't think your microphone was on there. Well, it's not really badgering. It's not an
Thank you,
objection,
Your Honor.
but that's all right. So just if you could answer the question that's asked. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
All
Your
right.
Honor. Let me start over, sir. You charge Mr. Depp $710 an hour for the work that you do for him, don't you?
That is my standard rate for all clients, and yes, I do charge that rate to Mr. Depp.
And these are returns as part of your role as his CPA firm now, his business manager firm now. Your firm prepares these tax returns, correct?
Yes.
And you maintain these tax returns in the ordinary course of your business, correct?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I know there's going to be plenty of redaction to do, but I just would like to move these into evidence. I don't plan to publish them or anything at this point.
Objection, Your Honor.
You want to approach?
Sidebar. Court, what's the objection? Mr. Dennison, I don't have any issue with them coming in, but I want to make sure they're appropriately redacted. The court, well, that's what he just said. Mr. Ronborn, I wasn't even going to publish them. The court, he said he wasn't going to publish them. You guys work out the redactions. Mr. Dennison, we'll work it out, but we're talking extraordinarily sensitive material. Mr. Ronborn, understood. The court, understood. All right, so 936 will come into evidence, but we'll wait for redactions and they will not be published, okay? Mr. Ronborn, thank you, Your Honor. Back to open court.
Mr. White, do you see here this text exchange between you and Tracy Jacobs?
Yes.
And your texts are in white and Miss Jacobs are in blue, correct?
Yes.
Mr. White, do you see here the third text down from Tracy Jacobs to you saying, thanks, I got a call from Disney last week saying he showed up 5 hours
Objection, Your
late
Honor,
for
hearsay.
ADR. It's not hearsay, it's party opponent. She's his agent. I'm happy to approach if you'd like to discuss.
The court, approach. Sidebar. Mr. Ronborn, one, it's impeachment because he just said he didn't know about it. The court, that's fine. He said he didn't. You're just using it for impeachment purposes? Mr. Ronborn, yeah. But I also want to get Tracy Jacobs into evidence because under Rule 8030, she was his agent at the time and she was authorized to make statements on his behalf, and that falls squarely into party opponent admission. The court, do we have testimony of that? Mr. Ronborn, he just testified she was his agent at the time. The court, he just testified, Mr. Ronborn, I know, but the court, right, Mr. Ronborn, she was his talent agent. The court, okay. Mr. Dennison, Your Honor, we wouldn't admit communications directly from Ms. Heard's lawyers, and now we have a talent agent in an email that is somehow a party admission when she's in fact talking to a financial advisor. Mr. Ronborn, I think in her capacity as his agent, and they're talking about commercial opportunities. The court, I'm not sure. She said she can't get a hold of him in all these statements, correct? Mr. Ronborn, I'm sorry. The court, she said she can't get a hold of him in all these statements. Mr. Ronborn, there's many more. The court, well, which one do you want to get into evidence? Just the one about Disney? I don't have a problem with the impeachment one. Mr. Ronborn, yeah, but I want to be able to read the impeachment text, the one about Disney, and there's a few more basically on the first page where she says, quote, we haven't been able to, end quote. The court, what's the context? What's the relevance of that? Mr. Ronborn, because he's saying, quote, I didn't have the opportunities after Amber wrote this article, end quote. And now he's turning down a movie where he's offered $8 million or $6 million because he wants 8. And then some of the ones about her just not being able to get a hold of him, which includes screenshots of his text to Tracy Jacobs. I think under 8030, her statements as an agent are party admission by him. The court, kind of far stretch, Mr. Rottenborn. So you will think under 803, Mr. Rottenborn, 8030. The court, does it have to do with availability level? Mr. Rottenborn, no. Just a party opponent admission. The court, I'm getting it. Mr. Rottenborn, I always wonder why they put the 0. I was just thinking the same thing. The court, I know, making life hard for everybody. All right, 803. I don't have the most recent one. Yeah, I got it. Admission by party opponent. Oh, so it looks like she's reading from the Federal Rules of Evidence. Awesome. Quote, statement by a person authorized by the party to make a statement concerning the subject, end quote. Mr. Dennison, that's clearly not the case here, Your Honor. Mr. Rottenborn, she's his talent agent. She's authorized by Mr. Depp to make statements about what he wants and what his, Mr. Dennison, she's authorized to make statements, but she can't reach Mr. Depp. That's certainly not true. The court, all right, quote, statement by a party or agent made during the term of agency concerning a matter within the scope of such agency, end quote. So which ones did you want to get in? Mr. Rottenborn, well, the court, I just want to make sure I get them right. Mr. Rottenborn, so the first page she says, quote, we haven't been able to reach him regarding Labyrinth. They wanted to reduce his fee from $8 million to $6 million, end quote. And then she says later, quote, he texted me back, Johnny, he doesn't want to reduce his fee, which means the film goes away, end quote. So those two texts are ones I want to get in. And later, she's exchanging texts with Mr. White about how he won't respond. She says, quote, just to let you know, his November movie is about to fall apart. No one can reach him. And if it doesn't go today, the financing falls apart. Just to give you a heads up, end quote. The court, I understand. Mr. Rottenborn, and then she, screenshots texts to him where Johnny's demanding the producers. The court, as I read the part C, quote, so this is Rule 803C she's reading, quote, by a personal representative or designated speaking agent, although an agent employed for the purposes of making a statement may qualify, very few employees are hired to be speaking agents, end quote. And this just comes back in such a major way later. Mr. Rottenborn, I mean, she's like the agent. The court, she is the agent, Mr. Dennison. How do you get a speaking on behalf to Mr. White? The court, your response, Mr. Rottenborn, she's just like Christian Carino yesterday. She was predecessor to Carino, who obviously spoke a lot about things. I don't see any difference. The court, we didn't get any text in his, though. I think I sustained those objections, too. In the view of being consistent, I think I'm going to sustain. But I do think you get that one in for impeachment purposes if you can redact it for just that one. Mr. Rottenborn, okay. Thank you. Can we admit that? The court, with redactions and publish that one, you redact it and just that one. Mr. Rottenborn, thank you. The court, back to open court.
Mr. White, we just saw the text that I started reading. Do you remember that text?
Yes.
Okay. We're just gonna show you and move for admission of that page of the document with that text. So I just wanted, since you won't see anything else, I just wanted you to orient yourself that is the text that we were just reading. Okay. Mr. White, you just testified a few minutes ago that you didn't have any understanding of Mr. Depp showing up late for work on Pirates 5, but in fact, you received this text from Tracy Jacobs that says, thanks. I got a call from Disney last week saying he showed up 5 hours late for ADR work in London for Pirates 5. I really need to speak to him before he starts work on his next project in LA. Did I read that right? Permission to publish this, Your Honor?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Do you want me to respond?
I just wanted to ask you if I read that right, that you received this text message saying in part, I got a call from Disney last week saying he showed up 5 hours late for ADR work in London for Pirates 5. I really need to speak to him before he starts work on this next project in LA. Did I read that right?
I believe you read it right.
Thank you. Can we please pull up Exhibit 1596?
Your Honor, before we go to the next exhibit, can I raise an issue at the bar? Thanks.
Sidebar. Mr. Dennison, that check needs to be redacted too. The court, yeah, I saw that. Mr. Rottenborn, oh, yeah, okay. Mr. Dennison, I didn't want it to come in. The court, yeah, I hope you didn't take pictures of it. Mr. Rottenborn, I understand, okay. The court, I didn't know a check was coming. Mr. Rottenborn, I'm sorry, we'll redact that. The court, just redact that. Mr. Rottenborn, and then the next exhibit is just a cover letter. It doesn't have a check on it. The court, there's no check, no routing numbers. Mr. Rottenborn, no, I promise you on this one. The court, okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Back to open court. So now we are on direct examination of Mr. Connolly.
Did you ever observe any physical injuries on Miss Heard?
Never, no.
How about on Mr. Depp?
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, it started off with maybe a scratch once in a while, a swelling, but it got more. It got more, yeah. I'm not talking he was marked every week or every 2 weeks, but yeah, he sustained marks there, definitely. He was getting marked.
And can you describe for us what you can remember?
Objection, Your Honor. Can we
Okay, all right. Hold on, Mr. Connolly, for a minute.
Sidebar. Mr. Nadelhoft, I don't think it's relevant if he can't describe that it came from Amber Heard. He's just describing injuries, vague scratches. I mean, he had already said he's never seen Miss Heard be physical, so now he's going to describing just scratches. Mr. Moniz, whether or not Mr. Depp has injuries corroborates Mr. Depp's accounts of physical violence. Mr. Nadelhoft, I think it outweighs. If there's no relevance, you can't. Mr. Moniz, it goes to domestic violence. I mean, it's the court. I'm going to allow it, but you can cross-examine on it, okay? Mr. Nadelhoft, okay. The court, all right. Thank you. Open court.
So, Mr. Connolly, you can continue responding. I think the question was just, can you generally describe for us what you remember about the marks you saw on Mr. Depp?
Yes. I noticed right away was most of these marks and most of these things through my training is happening in the left-hand side of his face. And it would be scratches on his neck, maybe a fat lip in the corner, maybe a bruising on the eye socket. Dull impacts, except for obviously the scratches, maybe on his left ear. Sometimes it'd be two marks, 2 lines, 2 trams, 1. Yeah, yeah. And it was getting more regular. As I say, not every week, but it was definitely happening. Yeah.
Can we see Plaintiff's Exhibit 162, please? And Mr. Connolly, are you able to see the picture on, I assume you can see it on your screen.
Yeah, just can you shrink it, please? Yeah, hi, yeah.
And do you...
yeah, I know that picture. I took that picture.
You took that?
Picture's on the... Yeah, I took the picture.
Can you just quickly tell us what this picture is?
This picture is Miss Heard and Johnny's honeymoon on the Orient Express on the East Line from Bangkok to Singapore. You travel through Malaysia, stopping at Kuala Lumpur and a few other places on the way down. And that is in the dining coach, I think. Yeah, dining coach, that's what that is. The guy on the left there with a silver band around he's the waiter. He's the waiter with the detail to look after us. The guy in the bow tie, he's guest relations manager.
Mr. Connolly, just hold on one second. Before we continue describing the document, I'd move for the admission of Plaintiff's Trial Exhibit 162 and that it be published to the jury.
Any objection?
I'd like to approach it.
Okay.
Sidebar. Mr. Nadelhoft, there's no foundation for the photo, just like yesterday's photos of the police officer. Mr. Moniz, he just said he took the picture. Mr. Nadelhoft, oh, he did? Oh, okay, I missed that. The court, so any objection to 162? Mr. Nadelhoft, then no. The court, all right, thanks. 162 in evidence, you can publish it. And back to court.
All right, and Mr. Connolly, I apologize for cutting you off, but could you just continue to describe for us what we're looking at in this picture?
Yeah, as I said, the guy in the bow tie, he's guest relations manager. He was detailed to, fix us up anything we needed, to excursions and transports and stuff. Then it's Miss Heard. The guy, that's the chef who looked after he cooked for us. He's great chef, by the way. Yeah, he looked after us. And that's Johnny.
Shifting gears a little bit. You listed out various places that you traveled with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, and I think you listed Japan, Germany, Hicksville, and Australia. Do I have that right?
Correct, yes.
When were you in Australia?
That'll be 2015, Pirates 5.
Does anything stand out to you about your time in Australia in 2015?
Yeah, Johnny lost a finger. One afternoon I was instructed to go to Johnny's accommodation.
Objection, and can we just approach
Okay,
from the-
all right.
Thanks.
Hold on just a minute, Mr. Connolly.
Mr. Nadelhoff. My concern here is he's going to give a long dialogue. He's going to, from previous testimony, he may say that Mr. Depp told him how his finger, the court, okay, Mr. Nadelhoff, and that would be hearsay, the court, right? Mr. Nadelhoff, clearly that his finger got cut off by a thrown bottle, the court, okay? Mr. Moniz, well, I think there's actually a basis to rule that that's the same as any existing mental condition, the court, sustained. Mr. Moniz, understood, Your Honor. I'll make clear on the questioning, court. Can you make sure in the question that he can't talk about anything anybody told him, to including Mr. Depp, Mr. Moniz, excepting Miss Heard, of course, the court, except Miss Heard. Mr. Nadelhoff, yeah, of course, the court, yeah, okay, all right, that's fine, all right, thank you, court.
All right, Mr. Connolly, please continue, but as you go, please avoid discussing the substance of any communications that you had with Mr. Depp or his security, and just focus on what you observed.
Okay. When I first entered the house, Miss Heard wasn't visible to me. Only Johnny. It's only when we started to leave, Miss Heard appeared, and she's probably, well, you're talking 2 feet, 3 feet.
Did you observe any injuries on Miss Heard?
No injuries. No injuries.
I'll allow it.
I'm sorry, what was your answer?
No injuries, none.
Other than the injury to his finger, did you observe any injuries on Mr. Depp?
No. No.
Okay, cross-examination, Mr. Nadelhoff?
Mr. Connolly, you still work for Mr. Depp?
I do, yeah.
Okay. And you've worked for him now for about 18 years?
No.
Well, 2 years ago, you said you worked for him for 16 years, so 2 more years would be 18.
No, I worked with him. I didn't work for him. I worked for a guy called Jerry Judge in Music and Arts. Johnny Depp never paid me. Johnny Depp started paying me 2 years ago.
Okay, so now you were working. Jerry Judge was your boss until he passed away. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and now you get paid directly by Mr. Depp, correct?
Right.
You're paid a salary by Mr. Depp?
No.
Okay. And Mr. Depp's also provided you gifts, correct?
Gifts?
Gifts. Money,
Yes.
Gifts.
No. Yes, Johnny's gave me gifts. I've gave Johnny gifts.
And he's given you gifts over $8,500, correct?
$8,500.
Yeah.
He gave me a lot more than that.
Okay. And you're loyal to Mr. Depp, right?
Yes, of course I'm loyal to Mr. Depp. I'm loyal. I'd be loyal to you if I was working for you.
Okay. Then you went in the house and saw Mr. Depp in the foyer, correct?
Yes, correct.
And Mr. Depp was trying to urinate in the foyer, wasn't he?
No.
Mr. Depp had his penis out of his pants, didn't he?
I think I would remember
Relevance.
seeing Mr. Depp's penis.
I'll allow it. Next question.
And you were trying to get Mr. Depp out of the house, correct?
Correct, I was trying to get Mr. Depp out of the house, yes.
And Mr. Depp was refusing to leave the house, was he not?
Not so much refused, he just wanted 2 minutes to say his piece.
You took Mr. Depp's arm to try to move him out, but he broke away, isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, so he was strong enough to break away from your grip, correct?
No.
So you had his arm and he broke away, though, correct?
No.
Isn't that what you just said?
No, I let him go.
You let go. But it wasn't easy.
Boss.
It wasn't
I'm not
easy.
going to drag him by it.
So Mr. Depp's your boss. You'll do what Mr. Depp wants, correct?
No.
It's not easy to get Mr. Depp out of the house, correct?
Not easy.
Okay. Now, did you take Mr. Depp to the hospital?
Along with others, yes.
Is it your testimony that Mr. Depp was coherent at the hospital?
Yes.
Let's show Defendant's Exhibit 370, and I'd just like you to look at something for a moment. I'm not publishing it. I just want to show him a document. Defendant's Exhibit 370.
Your Honor, I'm going to object on foundation grounds. The witness is not even copied on this document.
I'm going to ask him a question and ask him if it refreshes his recollection. That's all I was going to ask him about. I can use any document to refresh.
Wait, if you want to approach for a second, we'll just see what
Sidebar, the court. So what are we refreshing his recollection on? Mr. Ninohoft, he said he wasn't coherent at the hospital. If he doesn't know, he doesn't know. Mr. Moniz, it's not proper. I mean, it's not his words. Mr. Ninohoft, I'm asking if I'm not trying to submit it into evidence to the court. I understand that, Mr. Moniz. But reading it into Mr. Ninohoft, I wasn't going to read it into the record. I was just going to ask him if seeing this document reminded him that Mr. Depp was not coherent. It's either a yes or a no. The court, but he didn't write this, right? I just want to make sure. Mr. Ninohoft, no, he didn't write it. And I'm not trying to get it into evidence. I'm not trying the court. I understand. I'm going to sustain the objection. That's somebody else's words. He said he was coherent. Mr. Ninohoft, I'm sorry, the court. He said he was coherent, but that's just somebody else's words. It's not his words. Mr. Ninohoft, but you can use anything to refresh recollection. That's all I was going to do. The court, no, I'm not going to allow it. Mr. Ninohoft, thank you, Your Honor. The court, okay. And back to open court.
switch document.
You can take it down. And if we could put up, please, Plaintiff's Exhibit 120, and this is at 190, and I believe 120 has been in evidence before.
Well, I have 120A, 120B, and 120C.
So I think this would be 120D, if it...
120D?
Yeah.
Okay. D.
And I would... Mr. Connolly, I'm asking you questions about the fourth one down. Do you see that?
Yeah, it's not very clear though. I can't.
I'm going to objection. The document is hearsay. I don't know what the exception would be.
Okay, hold. If you want to come forward, let's.
Sidebar. The court. Thank you, Mr. Moniz. Unless this is being used to impeach him somehow, I think it's hearsay. Mr. Ninohoft, I'm going to ask him questions about his statement. I can ask him questions about what he said, Mr. Moniz, but his prior words are hearsay. The court. And you can, Mr. Ninohoft. No, but I can ask him questions about that. The court. Is this the date you were just talking about, Mr. Ninohoft? June 16th, 2015. The court. Okay, Mr. Moniz. So June 2016, that's after the court. Well, after the divorce, Mr. Ninohoft. Well, the relevance is that he's saying that Amber's done all these things left and right, and then he said he didn't want to be dragged into it, and he's calling her, she's been professional, never done anything. The court. Well, he's testified to that. He said, quote, she's always been professional to me, end quote. Mr. Moniz, I don't have this in front of me now, but it doesn't seem appropriate to me to be using his prior words. I mean, it's hearsay. The court. I just don't see the basis for it. He's already testified that she had nothing but, that she was only professional to him. That's what he basically is saying. Mr. Naderhoff, well, Your Honor, I think that's fine, Mr. Moniz. When you're done, may I take a look at that? Mr. Naderhoff, sure. Court, so what's, Mr. Naderhoff, if it's hearsay, then I won't, I'll just get my, court. I'll sustain the objection. All right, let's move on. Back to open court.
Thank you. Take it down. Mr. Connolly, you agree that Ms. Hurd's been nothing but respectful and professional to you, correct?
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further.
All right. What time? How many? Did we do our homework this week? Yes? We did. Work in progress. Okay, so are we still doing 19 tomorrow? 20s. You added one for me. That's lovely. Okay, great. So we'll do 20 tomorrow. So I would suggest 8 o'clock. Can everybody be here at 8? Sound good? Okay, we'll be here at 8 a.m. and we'll just do them until we're done. So bring a lot of meals, okay? All right, we'll see you tomorrow then. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Happy Monday. It looks like the judge is coming into the court. The judge will call the court to order, and then the jury will be coming in. I missed you guys last week. I was at a friend's conference. And
do we have any preliminary matters before the jury? Okay, sure.
Oh, they're going to approach for a quick preliminary matter.
Sidebar, Mr. Chu. Good morning, Your Honor. The court. Good morning, Mr. Chu. I don't think this is controversial. We just wanted to make sure that our experts could listen in today. I think the rule on witnesses do not apply to them. Ms. Spreadhoff, correct. We agree to that. The court. You agree to that? Okay. So listening in through my web, Mr. Chu, just listening in today. The court. Oh, they're in the courtroom, Mr. Chu. And then the second thing was just a housekeeping matter. Terrence Doherty of the ACLU's testimony on Thursday, we just wanted to make sure that his home address was redacted out when it goes to the website. The court. Check with Planet Depots because not much I can do about that. Mr. Chu, we'll take it up. The court. Okay, sure. Mr. Rottenborn, we have a couple exhibits. The court, yes. Mr. Rottenborn, this is one. The one text from Tracy Jacobs to Ed White will be labeled as 874A. The court, 874A, Mr. Rottenborn, yeah, that's the only one. I got to give it to the other side. And then the other two we owe you, but we'll come back to you on the tax returns, which they had given to us redacted. The court, okay, Mr. Rottenborn. So we just gave it to them just to make sure it gets to you, and we think it was 639. It was the one with the check where we redacted out the account number, but we inadvertently had redacted out Ed White's signature, so we're going to redo that, the court. So I've got 874A, thank you. Yes, sir. Mr. Nadelhoff, I believe Mr. Marks, Richard Marks, is coming today, the court, okay. Mr. Nadelhoff, he's an expert witness, and to us, looking at his report, it seems to me that he is evading the province of the jury. He is, the court. Do you mean Mr. Chu? Get the right attorney for this witness. She's attorney for the witness. I've got you. Okay. So Mr. Marks' expert designation, Mr. Nadelhoff. As I understand it, he's simply going to say that the op-ed caused Mr. Depp to lose Pirates 6, which just needs to be a factual question, and it seems to be, and that his opinion is essentially taken like Disney, the court. He's an expert for, Mr. Nadelhoff, he's not talking about damages, the court, okay. Miss Liquorose, he's talking about the impact of the op-ed. The court, okay, impact, okay, all right. Miss Liquorose, on Mr. Depp's career and reputation in the industry. That Hollywood, he's an expert with over 45 years of experience. I remember this dude. Mr. Nadelhoff, essentially all he's saying is that because of the op-ed, he lost, the court, he lost Pirates 6. Okay, so the question he has is what's his foundation for saying he lost Pirates, which is a factual question. He lost it because of the op-ed. Miss Liquorose, right, the court. So how can he testify to that he lost it? Miss Liquorose, understanding of the perception in the industry, of the timing of the op-ed, the placement of the op-ed, and the impact it had. The court, okay. Miss Liquorose, and the ramifications in light of the Me Too movement and his understanding sort of the court. And I understand all that. That's fine. But the question is he going to actually say he lost it because of the op-ed? Is he going to say that? Miss Liquorose, he is. Yeah, the court. No, he's not going to say that. Miss Liquorose, okay, the court. He can't say that. That's a factual issue, okay? I mean, I agree, 100%. That's why we're here in trial, for the jury. Miss Liquorose, okay, the court. So, but he can say that because of it, he lost revenue or whatever he's going to say. Mr. Nadelhoff, I don't think he can testify. Miss Liquorose, he's not calculating that out. He's just saying overall that the placement of the op-ed, the time of the op-ed, the court. So his reputation is damaged is what he's testifying to. So reputation evidence, Miss Liquorose, the court, okay, yeah, he can say that. Mr. Chu, the money experts come later. The court, all right, but he just can't say that this was the reason he lost Pirates. I don't think he has any of that foundation. Does that make sense? Miss Liquorose, okay, understood, ma'am. Mr. Chu, yes, it does. Thank you, Your Honor. The court, okay, thank you. Open court.
What was your understanding, if any, of Mr. Depp's professional reputation at the time you began representing him as his agent in the fall of 2016?
Umbridge needs a muffin.
Johnny's reputation, in my opinion, he was very well regarded and respected by peers in the artistic community.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. First of all, he says in his opinion, which he's not an expert witness, and second, he's now going into hearsay.
No, I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
Yeah, overruled. Sit down.
Mr. Whigham, Her Honor, you may continue.
Well regarded, respected, extremely talented, artistic.
What, if any, role did Mr. Depp play in Pirates of the Caribbean 5?
He played Captain Jack Sparrow.
Was he paid an actor's fee for that film?
Technically, it was before my tenure, but yes, I would assume he was.
Mr. Whigham, would you please explain for the jury what are residual or back-end rights?
I think the easiest way to explain a back-end is it's an ownership stake on behalf of the artist.
It's like an NFT for movies.
And typically is only granted to stars of a certain stature.
And in addition to the fee, Mr. Depp, the upfront fee that Mr. Depp was paid for Fantastic Beasts 5, which I know preceded you, what if any understanding do you have of whether Mr. Depp had any back-end rights for Pirates 5?
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation, he said that deal was at the other agency.
This is a foundational
if he knows it,
question.
that's
He's
fine.
trying to establish the foundation
Her
on
Honor
Ridge.
says you may answer the question.
So you initially said Fantastic Beasts. I think you meant Pirate 5.
I apologize.
Pirates.
I did mean
Yeah.
for Pirates 5, what, if any, back end did Mr. Depp have for Pirates 5?
Pirates 5.
I don't know what it was. I know that he had one.
There's the foundation. I don't know.
To what extent, if any, did Mr. Depp ever have a deal to perform in Pirates 6?
So when we started representing him, I remember Brian Lord and myself finishing a deal that had started at the previous agency. and
Objection, Your Honor. May we
closed-
approach?
Okay. Hold on a minute.
Ooh. So they're approaching because she thinks there's something there that he's going to get into that they have an issue with.
Sidebar! Miss Bredehoft, Your Honor. There's absolutely no agreement, no written agreement on Pirate 6. He admitted that it was negotiated at UTA. The court, okay. Miss Bredehoft, in his deposition, he said he thought that there might have been a deal finished. Then he testified that he had talked to, and this is all going to be hearsay, so he's not going to be able to talk to Sean Bailey. Mr. Chu, it's not hearsay. He worked on the deal. He knows. The court. But there's no, Miss Bredehoft, no, there isn't. There's never been a contract, Mr. Chu. She can cross-examine him. His testimony is there's a deal. He worked on the deal. He finalized the deal. She can cross-examine him. The court, I understand. Miss Bredehoft, there's nothing in writing. There's no contract. At best, it's hearsay. Mr. Chu, it's not hearsay. It's his direct knowledge that he negotiated the deal. He finalized the deal. She can cross him on that. Miss Bredehoft, it's hearsay, Your Honor, and foundation. There's no document whatsoever. The court, I'll overrule the objection. Mr. Chu, thank you, ma'am. Back to open court.
Isn't it true that you said blah, blah, blah?
For the interruption,
Yes.
Mr. Whigham.
Yes, it's true.
Her
Yes,
Honor
it's
says
not
you
true.
may answer the question, which I believe is
We've
to what
lost the
extent,
question.
if any, did Mr. Depp ever have a deal to perform in Pirates 6?
Let's hear what Umbridge didn't want us to know.
So we finished the deal, and then we closed the deal at $22.5 million for that film, is my memory.
As of early December 2018, so we're now in December of 2018, what, if anything, was your understanding of the status of whether Mr. Depp would actually appear in Pirate 6?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for hearsay.
All right,
No,
I'll
it
sustain the
doesn't.
objection. Next
He was the agent negotiating it.
Mr. Whigham, did there come a
That's
time
dumb.
when you saw an op-ed that purportedly written by Amber Heard that appeared in the Washington Post?
This is all going to damage from the
Yes.
defamation.
And drawing your attention specifically to the third paragraph of the op-ed, Ms. Heard writes, quote, 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing
the
domestic
highlighting.
abuse,
Get it?
and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out, unquote. What, if any, understanding do you have of that reference?
That it was regarding Johnny and their relationship.
Directing your attention, Tom, if we could just move back up to the first page of Exhibit 1. Directing your attention to the title of the article, quote, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence, unquote. What, if any, understanding do you have of that reference?
Objection, Your Honor, it's irrelevant what his understanding is.
I'll allow it.
It goes to damage. It's a defamation suit, Elaine.
That was rather shocking, I remember, because it was the first time I'd heard an allegation of sexual abuse.
And against whom was the allegation of sexual abuse?
Objection, Your Honor. How would he know?
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
No, what did you think? What did
Mr.
you
Whigham,
believe?
directing your attention to
Don't just
the
give it up.
fifth paragraph of Plaintiff's Exhibit 1. Ms. Heard writes, quote,
He could have kept going.
I
on
had the
that.
rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse, unquote.
This goes
to what
to
does
what
that
was
refer?
known in the
Objection, Your Honor.
industry.
How would he know it?
I'll sustain the objection. Next
He
question.
needs to ask it
Mr.
differently.
Gibson, if you
What
would
was
please
your
take down
understanding?
Plaintiff's Exhibit 1.
What? No, don't just give it up. Ask. What was your understanding? What was your
Mr.
interpretation?
Whigham, how, if at all, was Ms. Heard's op-ed different from other articles about the couple's relationship?
That's-
Objection, Your Honor, calls for hearsay foundation.
It calls for opinion.
Mr. Whigham, had you seen other articles in the course of your duties as Mr. Depp's agent about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp?
Objection, Your Honor, still.
Yes.
Calls for hearsay foundation.
Allow it.
Thank you.
He'd already said yes.
How, if at all, was the op-ed different from other articles
Should have
you
had him
read
restate
about
his
the Johnny
answer of
Depp
yes,
Amber Heard relationship?
because they were talking over each other.
You know, it was a first-person account coming from the victim. It's extremely impactful.
Impactful in a good or bad way?
With respect to Johnny, it was catastrophic because it was coming from a first-person account.
Because it
was
came
not
from her.
a journalist. It was not from someone observing. It was from someone saying this happened to me.
How, if at all, did Ms. Heard's op-ed
And there's the
impact
damage.
Mr. Depp's ability to land roles in studio films between December 2018 and
gonna
October
object.
2020?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for hearsay foundation and expert.
I'll sustain that.
Objection, Your Honor. This testimony is really bad for
Are you
us.
near the end, Mr. Chu? I just want to make sure because it's
I
coming
am,
up on
Your
our morning break. Okay.
I
All right. Go.
have probably 5 minutes.
Okay, that's good. Go
Let
ahead.
Mr. Chu keep going. We like
What
it.
effect, if any, did the op-ed have on the release of Minamata, the indie film you mentioned?
She's going to object
Objection, Your Honor,
again.
calls for hearsay.
She just
speculation.
overruled
You
your
worked
fucking
on that.
objections.
Sure. Yes,
Stop
ma'am.
it. Stop it. This judge wants to get to the morning break. She's already overruled that objection. You can't just object because this testimony is damaging to you. You're slowing down the court and she's annoyed.
Sidebar, the court. Mr. Chu, I think he can testify to what happened after the op-ed. I don't think he can say the op-ed is actually the thing that caused it. Mr. Chu, okay, so I can ask him what happened. The court, take out the op-ed. Mr. Chu, what happened to Minamata after the op-ed? The court, that will be fine. Mr. Chu, thank you. Ms. Burdoff. And Your Honor, I just want to renew. I think he's opened the door for... Mr. Chu, no, Your Honor, we were very careful. The court, I'll overrule that objection. Ms. Burdoff. Okay, the court. Okay, open court.
What was the impact to Johnny's career and to his work? It was devastating. Look how pissed she is. She lost her objection. She's like, you knew you're going to lose this objection. This is what this witness is for. They have firsthand knowledge of the
What
damage that was
happened,
done.
Mr. Whigham,
That's the point.
After the op-ed, but before October 2020, with respect to Minamata?
So the op-ed came out in December, and it was right as we were going on Christmas break, and Minamata was supposed to start in January, and I remember it was very, very difficult to keep Minamata together. The financing became shaky. The budget had to come down. Johnny's fee came down in order to save the movie.
Mr. Whigham, directing your attention to the middle email message on Plaintiff's Exhibit 584, did you receive this message from Christian Carino in or about December 20th, 2018 at 3:26 p.m.?
Your Honor, I'm going to object because it's a hearsay document. He's asking questions from the hearsay
Right,
document.
but they're hearsay documents.
I'll allow that question. Let's see where we go.
We're sending foundation.
Your Honor said you may answer that question.
Yes, I see, I see what he's asking me.
Would you please explain to the jury what the message was about?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
It's his statement.
Hearsay. He's asking him to
No.
essentially say
One approach for a moment.
The judge is like, I wanted to take my motherfucking morning break, and y'all are fighting over hearsay documents.
Ms. Burdoff. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Hearsay. He's asking him to essentially say, the court, do you want to approach for a moment? Sidebar. The court, are you refreshing his recollection of this, or are you just, Mr. Chu? Yes. The court, planning to read from the email. Ms. Burdoff, if you look at that document, Your Honor, he's saying, quote, were we told this information by Disney, end quote. He's not even refreshing his recollection. The court, I'll sustain as to hearsay. Mr. Chu, may I ask what the CC line is? The court, what is the CC line? Mr. Chu, if there's an attached article. The court, no, I'll sustain the objection. Thank you. Mr. Chu, thank you. Back to open court.
Oh my God, Camille Vasquez is like, this is so dumb. This is coming in. You know it's coming in. Stop fighting it, Elaine. This is coming in. It just makes it look like you want to hide it. And when you fight so hard to keep something out and then it comes in, the whole jury's like, oh, bitch, what is it? Like the whole jury goes, ooh, you wanted this out? Like this objecting to these types of questions that are coming in anyway just piques the jury's curiosity. They're just going to be more interested in whatever happens next.
Mr. Whigham, did there come a time after Ms. Heard's publication of the op-ed on December 18, 2018, but before October 2020, that you learned more about Disney's plans about whether it would cast Mr. Depp in Pirate 6?
Objection, hearsay.
All right.
I'm
It's
just asking
foundational.
whether he
Okay, I'll allow that.
Yeah, it's foundational. Did he learn?
Yes.
Then how did he learn?
When did that happen?
In 2019.
What happened? Go ahead.
Probably would have been like January.
Next question.
What happened in 2019 with respect to Disney? You're learning about Disney's plans, whether to use Mr. Depp in Pirate 6.
Objection, hearsay.
What happened? So,
yes.
Yeah. What happened?
I'll allow what happened. Go ahead.
It became clear they were going in a different direction.
When did you learn that Disney was going in a different direction and no longer planned to use Mr. Depp in Pirate 6?
Is that industry, it's not you, it's me, going in a different direction?
Early 2019.
When was the last time you discussed Mr. Depp's role in Pirate 6 with Jerry Bruckheimer, Sean Bailey, or anyone else at Disney?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, on hearsay.
Overruled.
Yeah, we know you are. It's not hearsay.
2019, I believe.
In addition to Pirate 6, did Mr. Depp lose other films between December 2018 and October 2020 because of Ms. Heard's op-ed?
Objection.
I'll sustain the objection.
That calls for speculation. He's going to have to go film by film. Look at her. Look at the face. Look at the face.
In
Look at the
addition
face.
to Pirate 6, did Mr. Depp lose any other films between December 2018 and October 20?
I'm ready too.
Objection, Your Honor. First of all, I don't think
I
he
don't
testified
like
that
this
he
testimony.
bought Pirate 6. Second of all, it's a
She's
leading-
now contradicting the witness's testimony, which is inappropriate.
Question
Both of you.
the other way.
Both of you.
Overruled. Let's go.
Shut up.
Go ahead.
Going to
Answer the
break.
question.
Sorry, I was getting stuck on my ears.
Yeah.
I wanted to pop up and down too.
After the op-ed, it was impossible to get him
Ding, ding,
a
ding.
studio film, which is what we normally would have been focused on in that time period.
Cross-examination?
Cross-examination.
Mr. Whigham,
Right.
you testified that you closed a deal for
Welcome.
Mr. Depp for Pirate 6 with him acting as Jack Sparrow. Do you recall that testimony?
You closed a deal, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Whigham, could you do me a favor and just count from 1 to 5 for me so I can get you on my big screens here?
Sure. 1, 2.
This is gonna be
3,
interesting.
4, 5.
Not getting on this. There you
Viral
go.
flow art.
Okay,
Can
thank
you
you,
say
sir.
hi
I
to my
appreciate
best
it.
friend,
I'm sorry.
Sal? Hi, Sal. You're amazing.
But in fact, Mr.
and I'm
Whigham,
genuinely
it's
excited.
not true that Mr.
Hi,
Depp
Sal.
ever had a contract with Disney for Pirate 6. Isn't that correct?
The isn'ts are hard for me.
Can you explain that question?
Yeah,
or
could
that
you ask a better
position?
question?
Have you ever seen a contract that
Oof.
provides for Mr. Depp
She
to
sounds
play
patronizing.
Pirate 6?
She doesn't mean to be, but she sounds patronizing.
To the best of my knowledge, my memory, myself and my partner closed an optional picture deal for the amount of
An
money
optional.
of what that picture would be for Johnny.
And you would make sure to have that in writing, wouldn't you?
Oh, so patronizing.
You know, that would normally go through legal counsel in terms of the codification of it.
Do you have any explanation for why there exists nothing, no piece of paper, nothing suggesting
is
that
your
Mr. Depp ever had a deal with Disney for Pirate 6?
Objection, lack
Assumes
of
facts, not
foundation,
in evidence.
compound.
Assumes
I'll
facts,
allow
not in evidence.
So I often close when I was an agent. We would work on many deals where I actually wouldn't see contracts. They were verbal in nature. And then, you know, especially on optional pictures, just so there was an understanding of what the money would be.
So do you have an explanation why there is not even
Like
a
a
piece
save
of
the date?
paper, not an email, not a text, not a piece, not a document, nothing that suggests that Mr. Depp is going to be in Pirate 6 as Jack Sparrow?
Objection, asked and answered.
Assumes facts.
I don't
not
believe it
evidence.
was.
Overruled. I'll allow.
It's a good line of questioning.
I mean, if you're asking me my opinion, it wouldn't necessarily be alarming because that would be a conversation usually to understand Disney's going to want to know, are we on the same
page?
Are we on the same page about what the money's going to be? And most of that conversation, if I remember correctly, was also with one of Johnny's lawyers.
All right. But would it be fair to say that you have never seen a document that provides that Mr. Depp was going to be in Pirate 6?
It would be fair to say that it was consistent with a lot of the conversations that I would have on behalf of Big Stars, where it was verbal and there was an understanding of
That's why I call her
what
Umbridge.
the deal was going to be.
Mr. Whigham, if you could please answer my question.
He did.
Objection, harassment. He did answer the question.
I'll allow you to ask your question. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah,
Judy,
I've
can you
lost
read
it
that
and you're
back?
yelling. Oh,
Thank you.
she asked the court reporter to read it back because she forgot what she asked. So now the court reporter has to look back and read back the question, and we'll hear it in just a moment.
Would it be fair to say that you have never seen a document that provides that Mr. Depp was going to be in Pirate 6?
It would be fair to say that I have not seen a document on pirates. Now, just so you know,
Mr. Whigham,
I don't give a
Mr.
shit
Whigham,
about your
I
explanation.
don't need you to give me extra. I just want you to answer mine.
Just answer
I
the
just
question.
want to know, have you ever seen a document that says Mr. Depp is going to be in Pirate 6?
I only to fully answer the question though, I think there's some context.
That's
No,
that's an easy yes or no. Have you seen a document?
He needs to just answer.
Technically, I perhaps have, because it connects to all the other Pirates films. It's just a modification of a new document. So I have not seen 22.5 million written on a page. You're correct about that.
Okay.
That's
While
what
we're
we do
sitting
here.
here,
That's
if
the
you
point.
can, just for a second, you're saying that then 2 years ago I became, oops, I better not do that. Clear that one. Then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse.
Look, a human
That's
moment.
This first person from Ms. Heard that's catastrophic for Mr. Depp. Is that your testimony?
No, that's not what he said. That's so.
You know what? I can't see the print even with these glasses, but
I can't
All
see the
right.
print. Just stop
Well,
answering there if you
I'll
can't
take
see
your
it.
word for it.
Don't do that. Don't take her word for anything.
Well, the title
lawyer.
here is How Can J.K. Rowling Be Genuinely Happy Casting Wife-Beater Johnny Depp in the new Fantastic Beasts film?
Objection,
Do you see
hearsay,
that?
Your Honor.
I'll allow that.
Did you see it? Is the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to move the admission of this exhibit. I think at this point, it's not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted, but it's going to offer, he's testified to comparisons of other articles.
Nope.
He's testifying to the impact of the op-ed. I think it's, in fairness, we should be able to put this in. and
Stop
be able
trying to make
the
fetch happen. They're going to
Clearly
approach.
hearsay.
Yeah, I'll sustain the
It's not
objection.
Clearly
offered to prove the
hearsay.
truth of the matter
It's
asserted.
clearly
I'll
hearsay.
sustain the objection.
Okay. Well, let's go to
He can form an opinion about
the
whether
third
that article
page.
was as damaging.
Let's go to the fourth page.
Ask him
So
that
it has
question.
A5, I think is what I'm trying to get to.
Oh my God.
So it says paragraph 7.
You guys are like, does she have to speak like this? No, she doesn't. This is a choice.
So do you recall that it says in here,
Objection, hearsay, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
She's just trying to backdoor your ruling.
She is trying to backdoor your ruling. Yes, Ben Chu, get it. They have approached. Stop trying to make fetch happen.
The court. Come here. Come here, children. Sidebar. The court. I allowed the title just like I did for the other one for impeachment purposes. You said it was op-ed impeachment. I get that. We're not getting into the actual guts of the articles, just like on the other ones, just like on theirs. Ms. Bredhoff, Your Honor, the op-ed is in. He's testified, Your Honor. The court. Right. Ms. Bredhoff, that compared to all the others, this is much more serious. This one is much more serious and much more detailed, and then it's more responsive, and then we have to be able to open the door. They completely opened the door. The court, no, it's not. Mr. Chu, she's not even quoting it right. Ms. Bredhoff, I have to be able to open the door has been completely opened, and it's manifestly unfair. Oh my God. It's manifestly unfair. The court, no, it has not, and I'll sustain the objection. I'm not allowing it into evidence, and you're not to read from it. Title is for impeachment purposes. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bredhoff, before you go, I plan on now asking him also about the lawsuit and the trial and all of that information, the publicity surrounding it, the court right, the lawsuit that was in the UK trial. I'll sustain the objection. Mr. Chu. Thank you, Your Honor. Back to open court.
They want that UK article in, and here's why. The UK article came out in April 2018, calling Depp a wife beater. So they are trying to say, and they are trying to make the argument, which they need to make, that it was not, in fact, Amber Heard's op-ed that did the thing, but it was this Sun UK article that did the damage. And she is very much trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen. So let's see. Who hurt Umbridge? She is trying to protect her client.
Mr. Whigham.
But it makes it seem like they're losing in the way she's trying to do it.
The article also had pictures, did it not?
He doesn't know. How is it going to refresh his recollection if he doesn't know?
Does this refresh your recollection?
Objection, hearsay, Your Honor.
It's used to refresh, so it's not hearsay.
Just for refreshing recollection, I'll allow.
It's used to refresh. He doesn't know because he didn't pay attention to whether it was filed or not.
Just so I understand the question, you're asking, does it refresh a memory that Johnny filed against the Sun?
Yes, and Dan Wooten. On June 13, 2018.
She wants that information in really badly, so she keeps saying it.
Okay.
Over and over.
All right. And he did so in the UK, in the High Court of Justice, correct?
She's like, I don't know.
I believe so. You would know better than I.
Okay. And if we can just turn to page 9. And do you recall that Mr. Depp alleged that that article had caused him serious harm to his personal and professional reputation?
Objection, hearsay, calls for speculation.
I'll allow the question.
Thank you.
No, I don't recall.
I'm going to ask you to take a look at paragraph 11.
If he doesn't recall, he doesn't recall.
Okay. Your Honor, is there a way to even make that screen bigger on mine? I wish I had better glasses and more technologically savvy.
They can make it a little bigger, but I think that's about as far as it can go.
I'm going to try to highlight it here so that might help you a little bit. Let me switch.
It's all Mallory. And the thing is, he's already done a deposition with her.
Do you recall that Mr. Depp alleged that the article in the Sun newspaper by Dan Wooten had caused serious harm to the claimant's personal and professional reputation?
It's hearsay. It's calling for hearsay.
If you're asking me, I don't recall it. I was not involved in that case at all. I'm able to read what's in front of me.
Right.
But you don't recall it, and you don't recall if that had any impact on Disney in 2018.
Objection, asked and answered.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
All right. Do you recall that Mr. Depp also alleged that he was caused significant distress and embarrassment by the publication of that article?
I'm sure that's true, but it doesn't lessen the impact of this one.
No, I don't recall that.
Okay.
I see that because I just was not involved in that case.
He didn't pay attention because it didn't matter as much as this one did.
It was a tabloid, and the lawyers.
There it is.
All right. Michelle, you can take that down.
It was a tabloid.
Now, there was a trial in the UK, was there not, on Mr. Depp's claims of libel
Stop trying to make fetch
Dan
happen.
Wooten and the Sun?
She's trying to get this ruling in.
I believe so.
And it was in July of 2020, was it not?
I don't remember the date, actually.
All right. And it lasted 3 weeks? Do you recall that?
I don't, but I'll take your word for it.
Do you recall there being an enormous amount of publicity surrounding that trial?
Objection, calls for speculation, lack of foundation.
He said he did. Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Whigham, you said you did recall that?
Asked and answered.
I'll allow it.
Let her finish it. This is what redirect is for.
I remember there being press around it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in fact, do you recall that Mr. Depp gave testimony for 4 days?
She just wants the jury to hear her say this stuff.
Not
he doesn't remember.
I don't.
Do you recall that Ms. Heard gave testimony for 4 days?
I don't recall any specific,
He didn't pay attention
specific memory of
'cause it didn't
who
matter.
testified for how long or any
That's the redirect.
details within the case.
Do you recall there being many, many witnesses testifying at that case, on that case?
It was before.
I think I'd revert to my answer just now.
Okay. Do you recall there being the video, the kitchen video being shown repeatedly?
Objection. Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure. He said he didn't remember any of this. She just wants the jury to hear her say all of this.
Sidebar, sidebar. Mr. Chu, he's already said he knows nothing about that. The court, I understand, but it's cross-examination or direct examination where you said it was the implication of the op-ed. She's getting very close to the line. I think this is the last of your questions on this. Is this right? Ms. Bredoff, I just have a few more on this. Yes, the court. Not get anywhere near the judgment if that's the concern. Ms. Bredoff, we're not going into the judgment. I understand. Why do I feel like she doesn't understand? Mr. Chu, or anywhere near the judgment. The court, I'm not sure where you're going, but yes, we're staying away from the judgment. All right, so here we see this, it's like they repeated it 3 times. It's like by the end of the trial, it's like 12 times, right? And then she still, fucks it up. But anyway, Ms. Bredoff, right. Okay. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. And back to open court.
How is J.K. Rowling okay with this? Fuck J.K. That was kind of the weight of that article. It's very different than, as he described the op-ed, more of a victim impact statement in a, I guess you would say, more reputable or more traditional
I think my last question
news
was,
outlet.
do you recall there being a lot of publicity surrounding Mr. Depp's
That wasn't your last
alcohol and drug
question.
use?
The judge overruled you. That was not your last question.
I think I answered that.
Oh, that's right. I was on the video, the kitchen video. Do you recall there being the kitchen video being played pretty repeatedly in the press?
He didn't watch it. He doesn't know.
No, I don't.
Do you recall a lot of pictures of Ms. Heard reflecting bruises,
A
cuts,
lot.
injuries?
He's like, nope.
I think just to be clear, I don't recall anything that was going on within the case. I was always consumed with next film and TV opportunities, and that was being handled by the lawyers.
Do
That's
you
my memory?
Do you recall? I just have a couple more to ask you on this. Do you recall there being
great,
allegations
delightful,
of at least
goody
14 incidents of domestic violence against Ms. Heard in that trial?
I do not, with specificity. Same answer.
All right, your next witness.
Another witness.
Your Honor, before we call the next witness, may we approach briefly for
Okay,
a moment?
sure.
Okay.
Sidebar, the court. Do we have another remote witness today? Miss Lickrows, we do not. The court. Okay, that's fine. I want to make sure. It gets a little crazy to try to get back into it. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, Miss Lickrows, just understanding earlier from this morning, Your Honor, and that we are not going backwards. The court. Okay, good. Miss Lickrows, I just want to be clear that, plaintiff's position is the experts are entitled to express opinions or conclusions as to any matter of fact, even if they're the ultimate issue. And we have our case, Chevrolet versus Hayden, 253 Virginia 50 on that. The court, okay. Miss Lickrows, so I wanted to make an offer of proof that had he been permitted to do so, Mr. Marks would have testified that Mr. Depp lost Pirate 6 as a result of the op-ed. So she's just putting this in the record for appeal. The court, okay, all right, thank you. Mr. Hsu, thank you, Your Honor. The court, thank you. Open court.
Why he's here yet, but
Your
it
Honor,
could be
I'm
the
about to switch
Aquaman
gears
deal.
a little bit. I don't know if you would
A
like
good
to
time
break
for
now
lunch?
for lunch.
That's fine. If you could approach us for a moment. Just one.
Sidebar, the court. He's your expert, right? Miss Lickrows, the court. At some point, you've got to move him in as an expert. Is that coming any day soon? Miss Lickrows, we just finished his experience and expertise. Yes, the court. Then the next thing is to move him in as an expert. Are you voir direing him as an expert? Mr. Neilhoff, no, Your Honor. The court. So why don't we do that officially and then we'll take lunch? Miss Lickrows, okay, that sounds great. Back to open court.
Just now 1:00 in the courtroom on the east. I mean,
Your Honor, before we take lunch, plaintiff would move in Mr. Marks as an expert in the entertainment industry.
Yes, there we go.
All right, any objection? All right, so moved.
That's
All
why
right,
he's
ladies and
here.
gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our hour
That's why the
lunch then.
resume.
Please do not talk to anybody and don't do any outside research. We'll see you back in an hour, okay? Thank you.
Oh,
Based on the
shit.
analysis you've done and your expertise in the entertainment industry, have you formed any opinions in this case?
Yes.
What, generally speaking, what is your opinion?
My general opinion is that the op-ed damaged Mr. Depp.
There it is.
Created a cancel situation, if you will. harmed his reputation and his ability to get work in
Objection, Your Honor.
Hollywood industry.
Objection.
Hold on, sir. Yes.
I thought, could we approach?
Sure.
Sidebar, Mr. Niederhoff, I want to make sure, but he said it harmed his reputation, and then he said getting work. The court, right, Mr. Rottenborn? I thought that was the court. No, the only thing that was that he couldn't say that the op-ed was the reason Disney dropped him. What we agreed on was that he would not say the op-ed was the reason Disney dropped him. Mr. Niederhoff, okay. Court, right? Ms. Lickross, right. Court. And he's not going to say that, Mr. Niederhoff. Okay. Ms. Lickross, thank you. The court. Uh-huh. Back to open court.
Yes, this is a better cross.
And you don't know one way or the other whether Mr. Depp will be in Pirates of Caribbean 6. You don't have a crystal ball, is that right?
Not a crystal ball.
He's an expert.
Allow it.
You asked for a crystal ball. She objected speculation. Come on.
Well, as an expert, of course, I don't have a crystal ball, but as an expert,
how are we here?
I think Disney will do everything possible to try to put him back in Pirates, but not under this cloud.
And in the old news that was coming out in 2018, that would also affect Mr. Depp's reputation, correct?
It's all about Amber.
Again, I've tried to draw a line, the line that Hollywood draws between the Me Too movement and starting in 2017 and the gossip and the claims back and forth. I mean, there was also press about Amber Heard being an abuser in those years. There was also the other side of the coin.
But the op-ed that didn't mention Mr. Depp at all and didn't mention any accusations that what happened to her, that's what caused Mr. Depp's
This is the point of cross.
all his reputational harm. That's what you're saying?
This is
Well,
the
I
point
don't
of cross.
agree that this article was not about
Did
Mr.
it mention
Depp.
Mr. Depp? That's what I asked you.
Well, does she have another husband who abused her?
But
in
did it talk about it?
2016?
Did it talk at all about Mr. Depp's abuse?
Objection, Your Honor. He's tried to answer the first question, which was not exactly what the second question was that he
Asked
re-asked.
and
and I've asked him to be
answered.
permitted to finish.
Ask your question.
Argumentative.
The op-ed article didn't mention any specific abuse by Mr. Depp towards Amber Heard, correct?
The only name is this is Amber Heard telling her story that started in 2016 when she was domestically abused and ignored.
Now, there were headlines about the UK trial, correct?
I'm sure there were, yes.
Like, let's burn Amber text allegedly sent by Johnny Depp about X read in court.
I didn't hear you.
Let's burn Amber text allegedly sent by Johnny Depp about X read in court.
Yeah.
And there's a headline from July 19th, 2020 that said, quote, Hollywood nervously awaits fallout from explosive Johnny Depp trial. So Hollywood was following the case, correct?
But that was after.
Yeah. When was that headline?
In 2020.
2020. Yeah, look, Johnny Depp is a decades-long fixture in Hollywood, and people were following something across the pond. You know, we thought we kind of got rid of the UK in 1776, but they were still following it, absolutely.
I mean, Mr. Depp thought of enough about this
The
article
court's going to yell at the people laughing.
to have a 3-week trial in the UK, correct?
Objection. Calls for speculation about what Mr. Depp thought.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
There was a 3-week trial in the UK based on this article by
They
Dan.
really want to get into the UK.
I think I've said Mr. Depp finally had enough,
Goes to his
and
opinion.
he sued to clear his name.
Okay, can I approach Your Honor?
All right.
He did sue to clear his name.
Sidebar, Mr. Niederhoff, I would like to ask him, and did Mr. Depp clear his name in that lawsuit? The court, your expert keeps saying he did the lawsuit to clear his name. Ms. Lickross, The court, the result of it is he didn't clear his name, so his question is, can he ask, did he clear his name? Ms. Lickross, I understand the lawsuit is not the court. No, he said that the UK lawsuit, he did it to clear his name, so they want to know if they can ask, did it clear his name? Ms. Lickross, my prior objection, I think we talked about the same way we couldn't talk about the UK trial to be able to explain what the purpose was of the trial, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't get in or didn't get into the judgment. Mr. Niederhoff, he said it twice now. The court, he said it twice. He said it twice that he wanted to clear his mind. Mr. Niederhoff, I never asked him about it. He brought it up on his own about clearing his name. The court, it came from your direct examination. He said that Mr. Depp wanted to clear his name. Miss Lickrose, it wasn't in the question that I asked the court. Well, I understand, but it's the answer that came out. That happens. Miss Lickrose, I understand. It's too difficult, Your Honor. I think the only way that they can get there, Mr. Niederhoff, he said it twice. I should be able to ask him, the court. He should be able to ask him, did he clear his name? Now, what's he going to say? I don't know. Because if he goes too far, Mr. Niederhoff, he's opening the door to this. Miss Lickrose, I understand that's their position. I don't think he opened the door to the court. I know. I really think you can make it clear. It's a yes or no question. Did he clear his name? Mr. Niederhoff, okay, what if he says, okay. What if he says yes, though? The court, that's it. You're done. Mr. Niederhoff, what's that? The court, oh, if he says yes, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. Sorry. Okay, does it make sense to you? Miss Lickrose, yeah. Court, okay. Back to open court.
You testified that in the UK case, Mr. Depp was looking to clear his name, correct?
That's my assumption, yes.
And yes or no, did Mr. Depp clear his name through that lawsuit?
I wasn't in the UK, and I'm not going to.
I'm not going to answer that.
Opine on that. That's not what I've been engaged to talk about.
You don't know one way or the other whether Mr. Depp cleared his name through that lawsuit?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
I'll sustain the objection.
I don't recall seeing the op-ed in what Disney produced. What I do recall is that the person giving that deposition for Disney really had no contact with Jerry Bruckheimer or Sean Bailey.
Interesting.
Just was someone that Disney put up who didn't know anything, is what I
can't
you
imagine.
understand. You're a lawyer, right?
He's been flustered this whole
understand
time.
The corporate designee is supposed to be in the shoes of the corporation talking for Disney, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. I think that's outside the scope of his expertise.
It is outside the scope of his
Overruled.
testimony as well, but whatevs.
I understand that that's what the corporate designee is supposed to be, but when I read that they are not in
That's what
touch with,
that was the question.
in touch
Let
with the
him
president
finish.
of the company, it gives me pause.
So Disney itself represented through this witness that it did not have the op-ed in any of its files, correct?
I don't remember that passage in the deposition, but I can't remember. She certainly did not quote the op-ed or produce the op-ed or talk about the op-ed.
Now,
but in Hollywood actions sometimes speak much louder than words.
and did you recall that
Well, there's
same
that.
corporate designee said that Pirate 6 is still possibly in development?
Until Disney says it's not in development, it's in development.
Okay.
I love the in Hollywood actions speak louder than words. I think that's the key takeaway. He's doing his job on Cross.
2020.
And where's this from?
The over-talking is annoying.
Rogue website. Where's this from?
Where is this from? Is this even a legitimate publication?
InsideTheMagic.com.
Okay.
Okay. And this says
InsideTheMagic.com.
Disney reportedly scraps plans for Depp's Pirates of the Caribbean 6 return, and that was on November 5th, 2020, correct?
Assuming that this is a correct copy of this random website, that's what it says. They're not quoting the head of production. It's not a statement by Disney, but that's what this
random website
woman, Rebecca Barton, says.
Well, 2 years after the op-ed, it was still a question as to whether Mr. Depp was going to be in Pirate 6.
There was no contract for Mr. Depp to be in Pirate 6, but he was Pirates. And there would always be that question until Pirates is produced or until Disney says otherwise.
And November 2020
I didn't see a
was
quote he
at the
said.
same time as all the publicity surrounding the UK case, correct?
I don't know. He wasn't paying attention.
I think the UK judgment came out in November
That was
2020.
funny.
And this article came out 3 days after the judgment, correct?
The one on
If
InsideTheMagic.com.
the judgment came out on the 2nd. This is 3 days later in, what's this again? MovieMagic.com?
Correct.
By Rebecca,
He
Barton.
just said correct when it was wrong.
Could I approach, Your Honor?
He's saying He's saying this is a random website with no quotes from production. Why are we relying on this?
Mr. Nadelhoft, can I approach Your Honor? The court. All right, sidebar. Mr. Nadelhoft, without mentioning the judgment, the court, no, that's fine. That's fine. He just said it, but that's not opening any door. He just said judgment. Mr. Nadelhoft, can I ask him if he knows what happened? The court, no. We're done. We're done. Mr. Nadelhoft, I can't. Okay. Court, okay. Thank you. And back to open court.
He's like some random website. It's like, well, I'm not going to rely on that. We don't have any statements from Disney. That's not reliable, for my opinion. So I'm interested to see where we're going next.
Isn't it true that you don't recall?
I hate, isn't it true?
When you first read the op-ed?
Or just like blank that from your
As
minds.
I sit here today, I don't recall when I first read it.
You know, as we know, everything starts with a Google search these days.
Yes, it does.
5 billion daily searches on Google. And Google Trends allows a user like me or you to go into Google Trends and analyze search traffic for various key terms, anything you really want.
Based on the analysis you did in this case, have you formed any opinions?
Yeah, my analysis shows that prior to 2016 and the allegations, the abuse allegations, Mr. Depp was not portrayed in a negative connotation. That's the first thing that I identified.
Mr. Bania, have you prepared a demonstrative that depicts how you used Google Trends in this case?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, we'd like permission to approach. I have hard copies.
Your Honor, at this time, we'd like permission to approach. I have hard copies. The court. All right. Sidebar. The court. Do you have a number for this? Ms. Lickross, we can mark it as demonstrative A, B, and C. They're from his expert designation. The court. I understand, but is this something you're going to show the jury? Ms. Lickross, with your permission, we'd like to publish to the jury. The court. First, we need an evidence number to start with, and then, is there any objection? Is this something you might use as well? Mr. Nadelhoff, no objection if this is where it came from. Ms. Lickross, yeah. Mr. Nadelhoff, no objection to the demonstrative. The court. ABC, I want to mark it. Ms. Lickross, do you just need the next plaintiff's exhibit number, or do you want to do it some other way? The court. Plaintiff's exhibit number, then we can mark it. 1236 is the next number. Mark it 1236. No objection to use as a demonstrative, but it won't come into evidence, but we will show it to the jury. Okay, 1236. Ms. Lickross, thank you, Your Honor. And back to open court.
The demonstrative is going to be something that shows the change. This is really interesting testimony because Heard's team's very much trying to argue, yeah, but 2016 did it.
And Mr. Bania, can you explain for the jury what is depicted in this demonstrative that you prepared?
Yes. So this is
what's going on Twitter.
This is the Google Trends data. Yeah. So what I was looking for is, were these web pages or articles, did they have anything to do with the alleged abuse? Did they have anything to do with his alcohol, drug use? Did they have anything to do with his work ethic? So I basically, tried to understand, the content and of each website or article.
What did you determine about the results that you found for the period prior to Ms. Heard's first allegations of abuse?
This is what I want to know.
So I determined that, Mr. Depp was not portrayed in any negative connotation. The web results were about his life and his career, his acting, his, pictures of him, relationships he was in, just pretty normal stuff.
And what did you determine about the top results after Ms. Heard's initial allegations in 2016 and then the republication in the op-ed in 2018?
Compound.
Okay.
What was the objection?
Sidebar. Mr. Nadelhoff, I prefer her not using the word republication. I think that's a legal term. And then we're going to be, she could say something different. I don't mind her saying something about it, but I don't think republication is a legal term, which Ms. Lickross, no objection to changing the use. We're in agreement. The court, okay, there we go. We're in agreement. Thank you. Open court.
Mr. Bania, what did you find about the results?
Glitch. Sorry, y'all.
Of the top web pages that you determined after Ms. Heard's initial allegations and then again after the publication of the op-ed?
Yeah, so after the initial allegations in 2016, I found that the majority of them had to do with the alleged abuse. And then after I realized that the ones the web pages that were dealing with the alleged abuse then started talking about is drinking and drinking and doing drugs. So
He doesn't want to show it to you. He just wants to say things.
again, I did not have that in front of me.
Objection. Counsel's
And
testifying at this point.
another article that came up on February 27th, 2020 is one of the top 3 hits when you search for Johnny Depp. What the headline was, quote, "Let's burn Amber, text allegedly sent by Johnny Depp about X read in court."
He doesn't have any of that in front of
If
him.
you want to talk about these articles, we need to bring them up.
This is your opinion. You don't recall what articles you analyzed?
There's a lot of articles here. I didn't memorize each title.
There were 6 articles that you analyzed.
His cat might poop on his bed.
Almost 2 years after the op-ed.
All right, can you bring those up and we can talk about them?
And on July 19th,
Nope, not going to do that.
the headline was, quote, "Hollywood nervously awaits fallout from explosive Johnny Depp."
He just wants to say things.
You don't recall one way or the other whether that was one
They
of the
should
articles
object
in
at
either
this
B or
point,
T?
but they're not going to.
Again, I know if you want to bring up my documents, I know document 9J, 9O.
Oh, he's going to get sassy.
9K and 9M are mentioning the op-ed. Again, I don't have those in
And
front of me.
when you say mentioning the op-ed, does that mean that it just references that Mr. Depp sued Amber Heard in Fairfax?
No, it talks about how he's alleged.
Yeah,
to
there should be an
abuse her
objection.
as it relates to the op-ed.
Doesn't it say, another headline from July 19th.
He just wants to read
2020,
headlines.
The headline was, quote,
Keep reading
"Hollywood
headlines,
nervously
bro.
awaits fallout from explosive Johnny Depp trial."
Asked and answered. Asked and answered.
Asked and answered. Oh, sustain the objection. Next question.
You understood that was about the lawsuit against the Sun in the UK.
I don't understand
correct?
what you're talking about. Asked and
Objection,
answered.
asked and
I
answered.
didn't ask about that.
Overruled.
Again, I would like to talk
did.
about these articles, but I need to see them.
Yep.
And on July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, "Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard.
Yes, Sister
All the
Babylon.
nasty bits of the UK trial," and it's all nasty.
Ooh, nasty bits.
That was in point
Nasty.
C, correct?
Again, I do not have that list in front of me.
This
If
is
you'd
why
like
they're
to
not
bring that up,
objecting.
We could talk about it.
And you understood that was about the lawsuit against the Sun in the UK, correct?
I do not.
And on July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, "Johnny Depp claims in the Sun he beat ex-wife. Complete lies, court told." That was the quote, correct?
Counsel's
I
just
don't see that
testifying
here.
at this point.
That was in your report, correct?
I don't have my
would
report in
to
front of
look
me.
at the documents.
Bring it up.
Again, I would be happy to discuss them if you would bring.
Would
them
you
up.
like to
And then you
refresh my
previously had a
recollection?
chart
No,
that had
you just want to
articles
yell
from
at me. So
November
just keep
2020,
fucking yelling at
correct?
me. Go ahead. So annoying.
I'm sorry, say that?
You previously had a chart that
Emily was
included
talking.
articles from November 2020, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Maybe we have a okay, sure.
Sidebar. Mr. Niederhoft, I should be allowed to ask him that. I'm not going into what happened. The court, nope, I'm going to sustain the objection. Mr. Niederhoft, okay, open court.
But they're just kind of smirking at this ridiculousness. Oh, we've
You
got
understood it was
candy on the
Mr.
desk
Depp's
again.
Decision to sue the Sun, correct?
I don't know. Calls for legal
I
conclusion.
don't know. That's
Calls
not
for
part
legal
of my
conclusion.
And this chart shows, well, permission to publish this chart is
This chart
demonstrative,
shows
Your
what?
Honor.
Any objection?
Who made it?
I don't think this witness has laid an appropriate foundation for it, Your Honor.
He said he
Who
has no
made the
reason to
chart?
question the Q scores.
I'll allow it as a demonstrative. That's fine.
Who made the chart?
And so this chart shows Mr. Depp's positive and negative Q scores, correct?
Correct.
And the positive Q scores are in blue.
So here's summer 2020 when he sued the Sun.
Correct.
Can you blow it up a little bit, Michelle? And
Okay.
the negative Q scores
Oh,
are
Michelle,
in red.
now we can't see it all on one screen. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach for a moment?
All right. I wonder what they're approaching about.
Sidebar. Ms. Laker Rose, I'm sure this goes beyond the November 2020 cutoff as data. Mr. Niederhoft, I wasn't trying to do that intentionally. The court, all right, so are you done with it then? Mr. Niederhoft, no, I'm not done with it, but I won't. The court, you're not going to comment on it? Mr. Niederhoft, I won't comment on November. The court, all right, you won't comment on it. We're making sure. Mr. Niederhoft, yeah, I won't. And back to open court.
Would you agree that
Would you agree? No. I'm not agreeing to anything you say. No. Nope.
the
No. Negative.
positive
Yep.
Q scores actually start to show an increase for Mr. Depp after the op-ed? There's a decrease and then there's an increase?
Yep.
And the same for the negative
Is
Depp
digging its own hole in
Q
this.
scores. There's a bit of a positive, and then it goes down, correct?
Yes.
So really, the op-ed had no effect on Mr. Depp's Q scores, correct?
That's not what he's saying.
As I mentioned, my analysis looked at the snapshot of time.
Your next witness.
Your Honor, I believe we're calling Aaron Filati by deposition.
Oh, okay.
Darn it. I thought we were almost done.
Could you put your microphone on?
We approach, there's 2 exhibits that we have.
Okay. All right. Well,
All right. They're approaching the bench because with regard to this witness that's coming in via video deposition.
Sidebar, the court. So this is an hour and a half one, right? So we'll not quite get to the end of it today. Ms. Vasquez, right. The court. Find a good break point for me, either a little before 5 or a little after 5. I appreciate it. Ms. Vasquez, I'll speak with Tom and we'll find a spot. The court. Okay. Thank you. I'll start waving if I'm done. Ms. Vasquez, so we redacted, this is Nurse Filati, who treated Amber Heard. The court, I remember the deposition. All right, got it. Ms. Vasquez, there are nursing notes that Your Honor has looked at, so these are proposed redactions that the plaintiff offers. The court, okay, have you seen these redactions? Mr. Nadelhoff, I think I have. Your Honor, I suppose. Oh, there it is. Yeah, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, defendant is proposing additional redactions highlighted here. The court, do you have any objection? Ms. Vasquez, we do have an objection to the additional redactions, Your Honor, just because they are discussed in the deposition. So if Your Honor would like to wait until, in other words, she laid the foundation and discussed the notes that Mr. Nadelhoff proposed as redacted, and we disagree with that. The court, you're not going to show them during the deposition? Ms. Vasquez, no. Mr. Nadelhoff, okay. Ms. Vasquez, would you like to, so this is defendants, and the highlighted portions are the portions that, court, they would like to have redacted as well. Mr. Nadelhoff. My position is I just don't believe she testified to those portions of the court. Okay, well, I'll try to keep a bingo card, so see if I can figure it out. Mr. Nadelhoff, Your Honor, we do want to show here on the court on Mr. Nadelhoff during the deposition. The court, okay. Mr. Nadelhoff, there are text messages that Amber sent to Ms. Filati. These famous text messages. We've redacted all the words. The court, just want the pictures. Mr. Nadelhoff, just the pictures that she received. She testified to that she received. It's not hearsay. It would be no different than if she were handed the picture. Ms. Vasquez, we disagree, obviously. We think it is hearsay. It was sent by Ms. Heard. The court, but it's a picture, not words. Ms. Vasquez, well, it's ambiguous. Well, I don't think this was going to be a winner. But the court, okay, I appreciate it. All right, over objection, I'll allow it. What is that? 733? Mr. Nadelhoff, 733. The court, that's defendants. 733. Mr. Nadelhoff, and 1038, it's the same thing. The court, oh dear, this one. The court, same thing. Mr. Nadelhoff, similar. The court, 733, and there's no redactions there, or do I have it? Mr. Nadelhoff, we have to give them to you. The court, you have to give them to us. 733, what's the other one? Ms. Vasquez, 1038. Mr. Nadelhoff, 1038. Well, I guess I'll give it to you after. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, do you want these played or shown? Mr. Nadelhoff, when she's testifying. The court, 1038 is in evidence. Defendants 1038 and Mr. Nadelhoff, 733. The court, 733. Yeah, they're just going to give us redactions after, and then I'm working on this. Yeah, Ms. Vasquez, okay. It would be helpful, Adam, if you don't mind giving me item and when you want it shown. I guess Adam is his first name, Mr. Nadelhoff? Adam Nadelhoff? Mr. Nadelhoff, I will do that. Thank you, the court. Okay, I'll keep my ears up. Ms. Vasquez, okay. If I may introduce the deposition, then that Mr. Nadelhoff is the first one to ask the questions. The court, when it switches, if you want to do that, that's fine, okay? Thank you. And back to open court.
I guess we're not finishing Johnny Depp's side today.
All right, so we'll see everybody at 10 o'clock tomorrow, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.